Alrighty, everybody, welcome on into the Central Committee stream. We are live once again. How is everybody doing this morning? We're not Dan Bonginoing to this morning. How is everybody doing today? We are live, and today is the day. He doesn't deserve it. Even though Donald Trump is getting mogged, he still doesn't deserve it. The fact that Xi Jinping has to know who Donald Trump is, isn't that embarrassing? Like, isn't that fucking embarrassing? Don't we all feel a little bit embarrassed? Like, you know, when Donald Trump was just trying to get cameos on Home Alone 2, you know, it wasn't that, it was less embarrassing. But the fact that he's been reelected twice, or he's been elected twice to be the leader of our country, and then somebody like Xi Jinping is like looking at America and going, they elected this guy. Can you imagine the Chinese intelligence report on Donald Trump? Like, honest to God, can you imagine? Like, the smartest thing Xi Jinping could do is just release. I mean, I guess they won't because they're worried about sources and methods getting exposed, right? But if they just released the Chinese intelligence packet on Donald Trump, just imagine what that looks like. And now Xi Jinping has to smell his diaper. Oh my God. Meanwhile, what is China doing? They're going, we should all be friends. Let's not have wars. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, God damn it. I worry that, you know, Xi Jinping is reading Hemingway and shit like that and coming out and being like, Americans aren't so bad. It's like, no, they are. You need to spend more time watching 90 Day Fiancé and less time in the fucking canon of literature to understand the average American. Okay, like, stop coping about America. It's not good, folks. Oh, thank you so much for the gift sub. Hell yeah, Austin for MD, thank you for the 10 gifties. That's the best. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Friendly reminder, chat, that yesterday we had Claire Valdez on the program, running for New York's 7th congressional district, the next congresswoman from New York. And I want to tell you, chat, that she was so happy with the chat. She was like, Mike, I didn't realize there was such an amazing place online. You know, she's been on Hasan's stream, but she's like, her campaign manager subscribed to the channel because they were so happy to have that we have such an amazing community. Mine is $6. It could only cost me $500 to get that 6. But what I'm really happy about is the fact that we're starting to make an impact. And when you compare the size of our community, what other community my size is making this kind of impact on politics? Like, that's the thing. Like, the only person that I'm even in the same breath with is with Hasan, and he's, you know, 10, 15, 20 times my size on Twitch alone. He's about 50 times my size when you consider all platforms. And here we are, you know, we're raising 40% of what he raises for his for candidates that come on his stream. We are making a massive impact. So I just want to say thank you guys for helping us accomplish that. It really is amazing to be a part of that. Besides Claire, what other socialist candidates do you think need boosting? I'm always looking for more. Oliver Larkin news on the redistricting. Yeah, we'll check that out eventually. I decided to run for local office in Vista, California for this November election. I'm working on getting my chapter's DSA endorsement. Hopefully I can get support for the community. I'm going up against a conservative who's backed by the local Dems on council. Oh, God. Well, good luck, Malibu, Ken, Z. It's a little late, isn't it? Isn't it a little late? How are you on the, like, how does the California ballot thing work? Anyway, I don't want to get too distracted. So let's dive right in to the Xi Trump meeting. This is our content right here.
习近平主席致辞.
Now a toast by President Xi.
I'm going to have more candidates on. We're going to promote more people. Xi Jinping is making a toast.
尊敬的特朗普总统，女士们、先生们， 很高兴为特朗普总统对中国进行国事访问举行国宴。首先，我代表中国政府和中国人民对特朗普总统和美国代表团表示热烈欢迎。
Honorable President Donald J. Trump, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to host the state banquet in honor of President Trump during his state visit to China. On behalf of the Chinese government and people, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to President Trump and the U.S. delegation.
这是一次历史性访问，今年是中国15开局之年。
He doesn't deserve this.
14亿多中国人民立足于5000多年中华文明深厚基础，正在以高质量发展全面推进中国式现代化。今年也是美国独立250周年，3亿多美国人民正在重振爱国、创新、开拓精神，推动美国发展迈向新的征程。中美两国人民都是伟大的人民，实现中华民族伟大复兴和让美国再伟大，完全可以并行不悖，相互成就，造福世界。
Trump is a bitch? What the damn?
This is a historic visit. This year marks the start of China's 15th five-year plan for economic and social development. The over 1.4 billion people of China, drawing on the rich heritage of our over 5,000-year civilization, are advancing Chinese modernization on all fronts through high-quality development. This year is also the 250th anniversary of American independence. The over 300 million American people are reinvigorating the spirit of patriotism, innovation, and enterprise, and ushering in a new journey for the development of the United States.
We're really not.
The people of China and the United States are both great peoples.
I'm kind of surprised at how little 250 is catching the zeitgeist. I love how they started 5,000 versus 250. Yeah. I don't know. I also don't feel like that patriotism is really catching hold, you know? I'm not seeing it.
Achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and making America great again can go hand in hand. We can help each other succeed and advance the well-being of the whole world.
55年前，尼克松总统派基辛格博士访华，中美开展乒乓外交，双方官民并举，推开了中美冰封20多年的大门，成为当代国际关系史上重大事件。此后，中美之间以很多开放合作的故事，不断书写着友谊的佳话。新形势下，我同特朗普总统顺应两国人民和国际社会期待，通过多次会晤和通话，推动中美关系保持总体稳定。
55 years ago, President Richard Nixon sent Dr. Henry Kissinger to visit China, and ping-pong diplomacy was carried out between our two countries. Through efforts of the two governments and peoples, the door that had remained frozen for over 20 years was opened, marking a milestone in contemporary international relations. From then on, China and the United States have written many chapters of friendship through mutual openness and cooperation. Under the new situation, President Trump and I, fully aware of the expectations of our two nations and the international community, have had multiple meetings and phone calls and kept China-US relations generally stable.
今天，我同特朗普总统就中美关系和国际及地区形势深入交换意见。我们一致认为，中美关系是当今世界最重要的双边关系，只能搞好，不能搞坏。两国合则两利，斗则俱伤，应该成为伙伴而不是对手。
Yeah, Reggie, I saw that.
我们同意构建中美建设性战略稳定关系，推动中美关系稳定、健康、可持续发展，为世界带来更多和平、繁荣、进步。
Today, President Trump and I had in-depth exchanges on China-US relations and international and regional dynamics. We both believe that the China-US relationship is the most important bilateral relationship in the world. We must make it work and never mess it up. Both China and the United States stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. Our two countries should be partners rather than rivals. President Trump and I also agreed to build a constructive China-US relationship of strategic stability to promote the steady, sound, and sustainable development of China-US relations and bring more peace, prosperity, and progress to the world.
尊敬的特朗普总统先生、女士们、先生们、朋友们，纵观中美关系发展历程，能不能做到相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢，是中美关系能否稳定发展的关键所在。当今事件变乱交织，中美关系承载着两国17亿多人民的福祉，关乎世界80多亿人民的利益。我们
There's no fucking way they're gonna let BYD in. Unfortunately, only the Canadians are gonna get lucky enough for that. I saw a BYD car yesterday that had like 800 horsepower, 700 mile. It was a plug-in hybrid with a 250 electric vehicle range, and then the range can be extended to 700 miles if you use gas, the gas generator. It had the most unbelievable amenities, and then it was like, this is $40,000, and I was like, this car would be 200 in the US, 200,000, and it's just like, bro, they cannot compete. I mean, the ride, there's like all sorts of like really cool technology with like dynamic tint. There's all sorts of cool technology they have like a 3K TV in the for the back row. They have like, I mean, the amount of amenities, you know, a cooler / heater. Like, why is it that? Like, that kind of stuff, you need to have $100,000 Wagoneer to even have any of that kind of stuff. It's just insane how much worse American vehicles are.
应当共同扛起这个历史重任，
Let me see if I can find
推
it
动中美
on my
关系
phone.
这
I'll show
艘
it to you,
巨
Chad.
轮
It's
沿着正确的航道平稳前行。
Honorable President Donald J. Trump, ladies and gentlemen, friends, looking back at the course of China-US relations, whether or not we could have mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation is the key to whether the relationship can advance steadily. The world today is changing and turbulent. China-US relations concern the well-being of the over 1.7 billion people of both countries and affect the interests of the over 8 billion people of the world. Both sides should rise up to this historic responsibility and steer the giant ship of China-US relations forward, steadily and in the right direction.
最后，我提议为中美两国发展繁荣和人民幸福，为中美关系的美好未来和两国人民的友谊，为特朗普总统以及在座的各位朋友的健康干杯！
Now please join me in a toast to the development and prosperity of China and the United States and the well-being of our people, to the bright future of China-US relations and the friendship between the two peoples, and to the health of President Trump and all the friends present. Cheers.
干杯！
Cheers.
Xi Jinping is not known to be somebody who drinks a lot. The CIA report, or the State Department report on Xi that leaked, said that he had no
谢谢
vices.
习近平主席。
Thank you, President Xi.
现在请特朗普总统致辞。
Next, a toast by President Trump.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is, pumping his blood.
Well,
with
thank
God
you very
knows how
much.
many
This is a
stimulants.
great honor. It was a fantastic day. And in particular, I want to thank President Xi, my friend, for this magnificent welcome. And it really was a magnificent welcome like none other.
Like, the thing is, like, Trump is so... He loves Xi so much, it's almost embarrassing. It's so embarrassing how Donald Trump is like, Xi Jinping, my friend, he's the coolest guy. We've got a good relationship. Like when they were trying to do the tariffs on Liberation Day, so-called, and then the Chinese were like, oh yeah, we're going to fight fire with fire. He was like, it hurts my feelings that my friend Xi Jinping is making me look bad. I thought we were close.
And for so graciously hosting us on this very historic state visit. We had extremely positive and productive conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation earlier. And this evening is another cherished opportunity to discuss among friends some of the things that we discussed today, all good for the United States and for China. And it was a great honor to be with you. Please.
Oh, Xi Jinping is more American than most Americans. The Chinese people have always held American entrepreneurship and creativity in high regards. In my younger years, I read the Federalist Papers and Thomas Paine's Common Sense. I was interested in the life story and thinking of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt, and other American statesmen. I also read the works of Henry David Thoreau, Walt Whitman, Mark Twain, and Jack London. I'm putting my hand in my face because I fucking called it. I fucking called it. You are reading the best of America. You're not, although I'm not a David Thoreau fan. You're beating, I don't like Henry David Thoreau. You're reading the best of America. This is not what Americans are. They're not Walt Whitman and Mark Twain. Come on. I was most captivated by Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea and its descriptions of howling wind, driving rain, roaring waves, small boat, the old man, and sharks. So when I visited Cuba for the first time, I paid a special visit to the breakwater in Cojamar, where Hemingway wrote the book. And in my second visit of Cuba, I dropped by the bar Hemingway frequented and ordered a mojito, his favorite rum with mint leaves and ice. I just wanted to feel for myself what was on his mind and what the place was like as he wrote those stories. I believe that it is always important to make an effort to get a deep understanding of the cultures and civilizations that are different from our own. Stop showing Americans what a statesman is like. Stop it. Do not show Americans what a statesman is like. We don't have any of these. Stop it. Can you imagine going like, oh, wow, I really appreciate this culture and this literary. I'm going to go and walk in the shoes, the footsteps of a literary giant and still my mind and kind of try to occupy the space that he was in when he was creative and blah, 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 blah. Can you imagine an American president doing that? I think one of the things that's kind of a little bit frustrating about this entire situation is I'm an American. And so and by the way, this if you're Canadian or a member in a country that's a member of NATO or Japanese or South Korean, or you're from the Philippines or from Taiwan, this applies to you as well. Okay? We are subject to this man. God. At least I had the opportunity to vote for someone else. If you're fucking Canadian or European et al., you are not. You just have to accept that you are a subject of this blathering lump of lard. Australians didn't even get mentioned. Oof.
感谢习近平主席。今天我们度过了非常美好的一天。首先要感谢习近平主席。
I want to skip over the like
建国之
Chinese
初
section because we
那么美国慢慢的
we can't
shared a
understand
deep
it.
当中最举足轻重的关系之一。
From the beginning, our citizens have shared a deep sense of mutual respect. Founding Father Benjamin Franklin published the sayings of Confucius in his colonial newspaper. And today's sculpture, recognizing that ancient Chinese sage, is carved into the face of the United States Supreme Court very proudly.
从一开始，我们两国之间的人民就已经有深厚的相互的尊重。美国的国父本杰明·富兰克林曾经在他的殖民报纸当中刊登了孔子的《论语》，而今天在美国最高法院建筑物的门前，可以说有一个雕刻，这个雕刻就是为了向中国的这一名古代的圣人进行致敬。
The appreciation ran in both directions. Chinese admirers of President George Washington gifted a stone tablet honoring his memory to adorn the Washington Monument. It bears the words of a Chinese official who called the great general and statesman a hero among men.
这一种欣赏是相互的。那么许多中国人非常崇敬乔治华盛顿总统，那么这些人当时就向美国捐赠了一个石碑，就是为了纪念华盛顿总统。目前这个石碑已经镶嵌在华盛顿纪念碑里面，石碑上刻有当时的一名中国官员形容这一名伟大的将军和政治家，他们把他称为人中豪杰。
And across the centuries, this mutual esteem grew into a relationship that reflected the tremendous talent and potential of our two people. Chinese workers helped lay the railroad tracks that connected our Atlantic coast to the Pacific. American travelers to China helped spread literacy and modern medicine. And at the request of China's ambassador, it was President Theodore Roosevelt who provided the funds to establish President Xi's alma mater, Tsinghua University.
在过去几百年当中，这种相互的尊敬已经成为了一段全新的关系。这段关系可以说反映出我们两国人民之间巨大的潜力，以及我们的努力和智慧。中国工人当初帮助美国建设了我们的铁路路轨，连通了美国的大西岸和太平洋沿海地区。美国当时早期出访中国的美国人也帮助中国提升了识字率，并且引入了现代医学，并且应时任中国驻华大使的请求，罗斯福总统也专门提供了资金，成立了习主席的母校清华大学。
As allies in World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt's mentions of the brave people of China, that's what they were, drew loud cheers in his speeches in the United States, and everybody loved what he had to say, just as many Chinese now love basketball and blue jeans. Chinese restaurants in America today outnumber the 5 largest fast food chains in the United States, all combined. That's a pretty big statement.
那么作为二战期间的盟国，罗斯福总统在美国的多次演讲当中提到了勇敢的中国人民。正如当前许多中国人非常喜欢篮球和穿蓝色的牛仔裤，在美国目前的中餐厅的数量要比美国前5大快餐连锁店的总的店面还要多。
This bond of commerce and respect that stretches back 250 years is the foundation for a future that benefits both of our nations. The American and Chinese people share much in common. We value hard work, we value courage and achievement, we love our families, and we love our countries. Together we have the chance to draw on these values to create a future of greater prosperity, cooperation, and happiness, and peace for our children. We love our children. This region and the world, it's a special world with the two of us united and together.
那么至于商业当中的纽带以及我们的相互尊重，可以说追溯到250年前，是我们将要构建的未来的基础。至于未来将会惠及我们两国的人民，美国人民和中国人民有许多的共同点，我们都崇尚劳动，我们都崇尚勇气和成就，我们都非常爱我们的家庭，我们也爱我们的国家。我们两国一道，我们将有机会基于我们共同的价值观，创造出一个更加繁荣、基于合作、幸福、和平的未来，为我们的子孙、为本地区以及全世界造福。
Thank you again, President Xi, for this beautiful welcome. And tonight it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th. And we look forward to it. And I'd now like to raise a glass and propose a toast to the rich and enduring ties between the American and Chinese people. It's a very special relationship. And I want to thank you again. This has been an amazing period of time. Thank you, President Xi.
那么再一次感谢习主席，感谢这一美好的欢迎。那么今天晚上，我也想借此机会向您以及
Honestly, it is surprising that he's still alive, though. Can we just say that? Like, it is kind of surprising how Donald Trump is still fucking alive. He's such a fat blob and a disgusting more like it's shocking. It's impressive in a certain type of way.
于是提出邀请，于9月24号邀请你们出访白宫。那我也希望，针对美国人民和中国人民之间深厚的以及持久的友谊，我提议我们进行举杯。那么我们这两国关系是非常独特的一项关系。
It's not surprising when billionaires have elite healthcare at their figure. I mean, even then, he must have some sort of like cholesterol mutation, right? Because as far as I know, he hasn't gotten a bypass. He hasn't gotten like a lot of the really more expensive. It almost makes you believe in med beds. You know what I mean? He eats the most disgusting slop. He's alive.
Thank you.
感谢，
Thank you, everybody, very much.
感谢。
He's such a fucking dumbass. Oh my god. Like the Chinese have Trump completely owned. Oh, am I roboting? What the fuck?
At this moment, President Trump is wrapping up day one of his summit in Beijing. At this moment, Chinese leader Xi Jinping is hosting a state banquet in Mr. Trump's honor. In a toast a short time ago, Mr. Trump invited Mr. Xi to the United States.
Tonight, it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th, and we look forward to it.
Earlier, the two leaders had an hours-long closed-door meeting, and Taiwan is emerging as a major flashpoint. According to a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Xi warned of potential conflict with the U.S. over Taiwan, saying it is the most important issue. Before that meeting, both leaders spoke of cooperation. Xi said the U.S. and China should be partners, not rivals. Listen to what Mr. Trump had to say.
We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you, and you would call me. And whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked it out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together.
CBS News foreign correspondent Anna Coren joins us live from Beijing with more on all of this. Anna, good morning to you. We have been wondering if this is more pageantry or substance in these meetings, and it seems as though the strong words from President Xi on Taiwan are the real standout. Is there anything else that has been remarkable to you today?
Well, look, Errol, I think we need to talk about Taiwan because this was always the red line as far as President Xi was concerned. And off the bat, that was the first thing that he brought up, and it was published by a Xinhua state news agency, which once again was quite extraordinary. But let me read some of it to you. The Taiwan question, which as they refer to it, is critical to US-China relations, and if the most important issue is not handled.
By the way, you'll be able to tell when China is a full superpower when the United States of America is forced to just kind of acknowledge the Taiwan reunification situation. That'll be where you know that the containment of China has failed. Obviously, Taiwan has been set up as an American forward operating base, and there's no interest in like all the stuff that people say about Taiwan is a total smokescreen. Okay, it's only there because it represents a strategic leverage point over China. Like that's what everything is about. All the other considerations are secondary to that physical geographic proximity. And you can see how powerful that is with the Strait of Hormuz right now, right? You see how Iran is able to shut down the Strait of Hormuz because of geographic proximity? That's what Taiwan represents to China. For the United States, Taiwan would give us the ability to shut down the Chinese coast. That's why the Chinese are saying like, hey, no, hands off Taiwan, because they can understand the strategic implications of the United States using Taiwan against their shores. And every American understands that logic. We're all taught about it when we talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis. The reason why that was a crisis and why the confrontation escalated between the Soviet Union and the United States over Cuba is because Cuba represents that same kind of geographic proximity for Florida and the Gulf. And so if it's being used as a leverage point, that would significantly hamper the United States of America. So, and of course, you know, rockets and missiles located in Cuba would have a much shorter transit time if launched, which would make the risk of nuclear exchange increase because the decision window would significantly narrow, right? In the event of a nuclear missile launch. So, you know, obviously we don't want to have intermediate nuclear missiles positioned close to our borders because that means the odds of an accident or an accidental nuclear exchange increase because there's not enough times. Like, what if there's a malfunction in the rocket launching satellite and it detects a launch from Cuba, right? The United States would have mere minutes to retaliate or contact the Cuban government and get any kind of like assurances. You know, the shorter the reaction time, the more likelihood there's going to be an accidental exchange. And the same thing is true with Taiwan. And the United States understands that, which is why it doesn't even recognize Taiwan as an independent country and why it continually slow rolls weapons sales and equipment that it sells to Taiwan, because it wants to support Taiwan as an independent entity and possible leverage point, but it also understands that the escalations can only go so far before China acts. So, like, learn from the Strait of Hormuz and understand that Taiwan is not just, you know, it isn't because China just hates democracy that it considers Taiwan to be a strategic necessity. It's because of the geographic proximity. And just with the Strait of Hormuz or the Cuban Missile Crisis, every major power has, you know, claims towards their immediate geographic proximity. It's just strategy. It's basic geopolitics.
Properly, it could lead to conflict and put the entire relationship in great jeopardy. Like I say, this is President Xi drawing the red line. We know that this is the core of core national interests as far as the Chinese are concerned. We met with a Professor Wu, who is an advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Today, he is right now at the state banquet. And he said, as far as Taiwan is concerned, that is Xi's legacy. So this really was President Xi laying down the gauntlet, letting America know, letting President Trump know that Taiwan is not to be messed with. There were no words of what needs to come from it, what compromises need to be made, how the US needs to change its position. None of that language was used, but just that readout itself was quite extraordinary. Interestingly, in the White House readout, Errol, there was no mention of Taiwan, but we have just heard from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He has said that Trump understands the sensitivity around this and that we will hear more from President Trump in the coming.
It's so funny how, like, you'll get these 20-year-old twink NATO, you know, Israel flag, Taiwan flag, EU flag accounts, which represent approximately 50 people worldwide. And then those people get hired onto progressive congressional campaigns and they write the dumbest ass shit. Meanwhile, the most hardened neocon Republican in power is like, yeah, we understand Taiwan. We understand it's sensitive. We're sorry, Xi Jinping, please. We understand it's sensitive. We agree to disagree. Meanwhile, the NATO twinks are like, we're going to fight a war with China. The LARPing is insane. It's kind of really funny how foreign policy is discussed online, and that, like, it is, the discourse is, it's like Vosh is to the right of, you know, Ted Cruz on Taiwan. You know what I mean? Like, it's just funny.
Days. Now, you talk about what else is happening. Well, what is happening right now at the state banquet is absolutely extraordinary. You have the who's who of the Chinese administration, the US administration, as well as heavyweights, titans from both industries in the US and China. It really goes to show that both countries want to work together to reset this relationship and move forward, Errol.
Yeah, very interesting notes there. Anna Corin, live for us in Beijing.
Okay, I wanted to show you the Al Jazeera
Partners,
coverage.
not rivals. Those are the words of China's President Xi Jinping as he welcomed.
Can I just say one thing about Xi? It's very obvious that he studied the transition from where the British Empire was the preeminent world empire prior to World War II, and then the baton was handed over to the United States, right? And the United States allowed Britain to decline slowly and maintain their own, kind of honor. And they didn't, obviously now British are kind of irrelevant, but the United States, through a relationship with them, allowed them to kind of maintain their imperial spoils without having to, go through a century of utter humiliation. And I think the Chinese are kind of offering the same deal to America, right? Which is, hey, listen, America, you're going to be a powerful country. You're going to have a lot of influence. You're going to matter. But don't you think we should just be friends and have a good relationship?
Welcomed U.S. President Donald Trump. The U.S. leader shared similar sentiments, saying the relationship between the two countries is, quote, better than ever before. Xi is holding talks with U.S. business leaders in a visit that is expected to be dominated by trade. Earlier, the two leaders met in the Great Hall of the People after a pomp-filled welcome ceremony. But thornier issues are also likely to be discussed, including Taiwan and the Iran war.
You and I have known each other now for a long time. In fact, the longest relationship of our two countries that any president has had. And that's, to me, an honor. We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you and you would call me. And whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked it out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together.
中美之间的共同利益
The common interests between China and the United States outweigh our differences, and each country's success represents an opportunity for the other. A stable China-US relationship benefits the entire world. When we cooperate, both sides benefit. When we confront each other, both sides suffer.
Al Jazeera's Katrina Yu joins us now live from the Chinese capital. Katrina, a meeting between Trump and Xi has just concluded. What are you learning about what was discussed in that meeting?
Well, we've just had a readout released by Xinhua Chinese state media talking about China's perspective about what was discussed in that meeting that lasted just under 3 hours. Now, it said that China is committed to a healthy and sustainable development of China-U.S. relations, that the two leaders agreed to establish a constructive, strategic, and stable relationship, one that does include moderate competition. They talked about trade, saying that the essence of the economic relationship between the two sides was win-win cooperation, and also that the teams that met in South Korea yesterday to discuss trade, they did leave that meeting with a balanced and positive outcome. So I'm sure we're going to hear more about that.
Are the Chinese being naive or strategic with how nice they are to us? I see them appear to give us the benefit of the doubt sometimes, and I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't trust us, Xi. The answer is that basically since Deng, the Chinese have adopted the position of maximum of avoiding confrontation, right? Like they have basically been like, listen, the strategy of like maximal confrontation did not work. It caused the China to be isolated from the world, sanctioned, blockaded. They couldn't, do technological exchanges. They couldn't get their population educated. They couldn't trade. They didn't have access to needed natural resources from other regions in the world. And so they have adopted what is often called non-judgmental non-interventionism. So what they try to do is have positive relationships. Thanks, time card, for the raid. Have positive, mutually beneficial relationships, which they call non-judgmental non-interventionism. So as long as people are willing to treat them fairly, they're willing to treat the other side fairly. And, the United States of America is opposite. We have what's called the Truman Doctrine, which is the idea that the United States of America asserts the right to intervene in any country's domestic politics if we don't like it. And that is by any means necessary. Economic coercion, military coercion, supporting coups, corrupting political parties at elections. That is the Truman Doctrine. If we don't like your government or your politics, we reserve the right to intervene in every country on the entire world. So the Chinese have the opposite type of foreign policy. Now, the other thing, the reason why the Chinese are not naive is because they guard themselves, which is what people get all butthurt about, right? Like the Chinese don't allow America to interfere in their domestic politics. They don't allow the United States to use coercive means or covert means to disrupt their politics, and they aggressively fight it within their own country. So I wouldn't call them naive. I would just say they have decided that doing confrontations will lead to the rest of the world targeting them because they're socialist. And the capitalist countries are eager to try to rip open China for exploitation, just like they did during 2 centuries of humiliation. I know they call it the century of humiliation, but it was really 2. So that is kind of the reality. Now, there's a lot of people that are on the left in the West who go like, oh my God, China should be more like the Soviet Union and be involved in all sorts of revolutionary wars and should be funding political parties and like attacking countries and flexing its muscles militarily and trying to form a new neo-Warsaw Pact and all sorts of shit like that. And the conditions, I just think that's a foolish idea, personally. China understands something that a lot of Westerners don't, which is if you have every society treated fairly, they will all thrive. Africa will thrive. You don't need to give Africa extra help. You just have to give Africa fair deals. And because they are human beings, they will rise on their own. They will develop on their own. You just need to not install hyper exploitative dictators and puppets who destroy their own country in order to profit foreign corporations. If you trade in a mutually beneficial manner with the world, they will rise and they will find as a counterbalance to the West. That's China's strategy. Help Latin America, help Asia, help Africa develop, and then their economies will grow, their populations will become more pro-China, and there will be a natural development in their direction. That is their strategy. It is a long-term strategy, looking ahead 20, 50 years, as opposed to the kind of like instant gratification mentality of America, where it's like, we need to overthrow this government right now.
Throughout the day or perhaps tomorrow. Also,
can you touch on what is expected to happen with all the CEOs going to China? The CEOs are trying to ensure that they have access to the market, and they're trying to influence the United States to not be so confrontational with China because they have a market interest. That is why they're doing it. And they're also kowtowing to the Socialist Party because it has iron fist grip over China, and they know that if they don't, they won't be allowed to play.
Trump, before he left, he said that he wants China to open the door wider. That apparently was discussed because in the statement it says that China's door is opening to the U.S. and it continues to open wider, and that they agreed to cooperate in the areas of trade, health, agriculture, tourism, culture, and law and order. Now, the statement ended with some very powerful comments, and this is about Taiwan, which Xi Jinping has said time and time again that this is the most important red line issue for China. That, again, that sentiment was repeated here, saying that this is the most important issue of the Washington-Beijing relationship. If handled well, it will lead to stability. If handled poorly, it will lead to clash, even conflict, bringing the two countries to a dangerous situation. It also said that Taiwan independence and peace are as incompatible as fire and water. So I think really China drawing a line here as to what it wants. Yes, trade and stability, a healthy economic relationship, but most of all, China cannot afford for the U.S. to go any closer to Taiwan in terms of supporting independence, and this is really a bottom line that will really be definitive for the rest of these talks as well as the rest of this relationship.
And Katrina, as we've been watching these meetings throughout the day there in Beijing, you've been reporting about things like how difficult it was for China when the president brought in all of these tariffs relatively unexpectedly on some of its trade partners. So I wonder what China will consider wins or successes in these meetings. Does it want concrete assurances on things like trade? What will count as a success for China coming out of this state visit?
I think we've seen already from both sides that trade is dominating these discussions, and it likely dominated the discussions this morning as well. For China, I think it wants certainty. That's what all businesses want and what all managers of any healthy economy want, some certainty. It doesn't want any new duties, any surprises that will have a bad effect on trade flows, investment. It wants all of that to continue and ultimately to inject some momentum into China's stubbornly slowing economy. It wants to raise confidence, not only for Chinese firms, but for businesses around the world who are seeking or questioning about how much of a good idea it is to do business with China. So I think some sort of ratification or some sort.
The thing about China is, like, I think there's an old clip that I used to show all the time, but if you're new to the stream, it's they kind of Tim Cook explained why China is superior. I want to say it was like years ago. I think this is the clip.
There's a confusion about China that, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. And that is not the reason to come to China from a supply point of view. The reason is because of the skill and the quantity of skill in one location and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling. And the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US, you could have a meeting of tooling engineers and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here. And I give the education system a lot of credit for continuing to push on that, even when others were de-emphasizing vocational. Now I think many countries in the world have woke up and said, you know, this is a key thing, and we've got to correct that. But China called that right from the beginning.
I think one of the things that's really funny is, like, people will be like, China, you know, they're capitalists. And the thing about them is, they have developed their country from an agricultural, feudal, peasant society to the world's most foremost proletarian society in the Marxian sense. Depending on who you ask, they have between 150 million and 212 million manufacturing jobs. America at its peak had 18 million. And the productivity of China is skyrocketing because they're not just relying on cheap labor or low-skilled labor. They are investing in maximizing capital in the sense of the factory automation, productivity, expansion. They're trying to create a society that produces hyperabundance. An example I want to give you guys, you know, I've showed you this, but like this abundance is also based on where capitalists do exist. There's hyper competition and it produces stuff like this.
To the BMW X5 and BMW.
Okay, hold on.
You're not
TikTok
ready.
just being broken. Oh my God, what is TikTok doing? Oh my Jesus fucking Christ! This shit fucking website. God, well, how is TikTok this fucking garbage, man?
Behind me is a Genesis.
Jesus Christ, fuck me. Okay, I guess that just crashed. It doesn't exist. No. Okay, hold on. Let's try one more time.
BMW X5 and BMW. You're not ready. For starters, this has 2 NVIDIA chips for self-driving, and to let other cars know it's driving itself, your front lights will turn blue.
Parking assisted starts. Mind surroundings.
Hey. On just the battery, it can do 255 miles and get you back to 80% in just 9 minutes. But under the hood, you get a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder that acts as a generator. And on a full charge and a full tank of gas, it can do over 700 miles. The inside is stunning. I get a moonroof, suede on my roof, speakers in the headrest of these Napa leather seats that are going to be heated, ventilated, and massaging. I get wood on my dash, a screen here, another one there, 2 wireless charging pads with fans to cool off my phone, red leather grab handles, a heated steering wheel, digital display, head-up display, and my speakers not only have ambient lighting, but it's the same sound system that's used by Bentley. This can also monitor your air quality, disinfect your cabin filter with UV lights, and if I reach inside my glove box, I get fragrances that blow out of my vents. In the second row, I get a ton of space, automatic sunscreen shades. My third seat can turn into an armrest with cup holders and storage space. I get a touchscreen right here, a cooler with UV lights to disinfect my things, and it can also keep food hot. And if I need a place to eat said food, I get a built-in tray. It's lunchtime, baby. But you haven't even seen the best part. Now I get a footrest, a leg rest that's heated along with heated, ventilated, and massaging seats. I get a giant moonroof in the back, and did I mention the 3K TV? Now I can sit back and watch a movie with some movies in 5D. That means it'll adjust my ambient lighting, my fan speed, my fragrances, and because I get speakers in my headrest, it's more immersive. And if EVs make you car sick, you get motion sickness mitigation, and it'll even show you visuals on your rear screen. You thought we were done? Now if you're super tall, you can relax too, and I can even use this as a bed. And you get all that comfort while still having an insane amount of trunk space with even more space for junk. It also makes 880 horsepower. And that's just for the standard model. There's a performance model that makes 1400 horsepower. Behind me is China's competition to the BMW X5, and BMW...
This is why you're not allowed to buy it. Now, this is an expensive Chinese car. It's $58,000, which is a lot. But the same, if you try to get anywhere near the same type of vehicle, first of all, they don't exist. There isn't a plug-in hybrid like that in the US at all. And the second thing is, like, if you were to say like a Wagoneer or something like that as a competitor, that's like 150 or 120. I paid $52K for my Kia Sorento. Oh no. Mike, new BYD tech just dropped.
Changing a tire. But BYD just said, how about I do it for you? This is BYD's Disus P Ultra suspension, and is probably one of the wildest off-roading technology that is coming out of China right now. This suspension allows you to lift individual wheels.
This is like really good for like bouldering, like for hardcore off-roaders. This is like really important and valuable. Holy shit.
Any wheel up to 300 millimeters, which means if you really have a blowout tire, you don't need jacks or tools to lift the car up. It can just lift the wheel up so you can change it. You can even control the wheel height from your phone. And it gets even crazier. Even with one wheel disabled, you can still drive on the rest of the 3 wheels. And this is not just a concept. This is a production car coming out this month. See? How crazy is this? But this system isn't just for party tricks. It actively controls body movement, traction, weight transfer, and stability depending on terrain. Sand, mud, rocks, side slopes. The suspension is constantly adapting. In the off-roading world, it used to be, how capable is your SUV? And now it is becoming, how intelligently can your car solve problems? And China understood it early.
Pick up your wheel over a
I know what you hate, changing a tire. But BYD just said, how about I do it for you? This is BYD's Disus.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at these cars and you see so many like options, and it's like, well, why is that happening? Well, it's because they have hyper competition. So if you know, are struggling, like, you're competing a lot on price. And then you're like, okay, well, what else can we do? Well, we can add this feature and that feature. And so there's an options competition as well. So the quality of the vehicles, the capability of the vehicles is also increasing at the same time the price is being held down. And because so much effort is going into like investing in cutting edge production technology, it means that each vehicle, you know, can be produced very cheaply. The US isn't investing like that. We're investing in fucking data centers and shit. Right? That's where there's no investing going into Ford's production technology. They're using the same shit they've been using for 40 years. The same lines. There's very little retooling going on. America is really fucked. Because this isn't something you could just like pass a law and fix.
Partners, not right.
Okay, did we watch this or am I...
have a bad effect on trade flows, investment. It wants all of that to continue and ultimately to open wider, and that they agreed to cooperate in the areas of trade, health,
thing, or did I accidentally close it? I don't remember.
Agriculture, tourism.
I feel like I paused it and got distracted.
Culture and law and order. Now, the statement ended with some very powerful comments, and this is about Taiwan, which Xi Jinping has said time and time again that this is the most important red line issue for China.
Okay, yeah, I think we did watch this. I have a bunch of other clips. And this is how, by the way, this is what liberal MS Now is reporting. The most warmonger side.
MS Now White House reporter Laura Barone Lopez.
Actually,
Laura,
insane.
good morning. Thanks so much for joining us today from Beijing. The president seems to be using his flattery to build his relationship with Xi, even going so far to call him a friend.
I have
This
in
is
the past.
a fairly stark departure from the contentious trade war that was going on last year. What is the reaction to that tactic in Beijing so far?
No, JP, send it to me.
That's right. Well, right now, look, Chinese President Xi Jinping gave the President Trump a big welcome, a ceremonial welcome with a military band, which the Chinese know that President Trump likes. He loves to see the pageantry in the ceremony. They had a 21-gun salute as well, and this was something that, as you just played, President Trump reacted fondly to, calling Xi Jinping a friend. And as you noted, Jackie, it's a stark departure from last year when there was the trade war and the tariff battles, which ended in a truce of sorts last fall, and the two sides are trying to keep that truce going. It's also a departure from Trump's first administration, when he and his administration that first time around talked about China as a big geopolitical foe and someone that they needed to confront and challenge. And now they view it more as a potential economic partner. And you're seeing that with the president bringing these U.S. businesses alongside him. And in some of the readouts we just got from a White House official on the meeting, they did mention that those U.S. executives, CEOs, took part in some of the meeting, the bilateral meeting between the two leaders today. But ultimately, what overshadowed this meeting was essentially the tale of two straits. For China, the Taiwan Strait; for the U.S., the Strait of Hormuz, Jackie.
Yeah, Laura, actually, let's stay a little bit on the Taiwan of it all. Trump has been notably less strong on the U.S.-Taiwan relationship than previous presidents. I'm not even sure if he's outright supported Taiwanese independence. Are there any concerns that he sees this issue as the negotiating chip when it comes to getting China to ultimately put more leverage and more pressure onto Iran to come to the negotiating table and reopen the Strait of Hormuz? And what do those concessions sort of look like?
Well, that's the big question, which is the president going to concede anything on Taiwan and Taiwan's independence? Now, we know that China wants the U.S. to change its position from one that officially says that the U.S. does not support Taiwanese independence to outright opposing it. Now, we haven't received any indication other than the president's public statement.
By the way, I think it would be so funny. And I don't think Taiwanese people want to do this, which is throw your lot in with America. Can you not see what's happening to the Gulf states right now? If your name is, can you not see what's happening to Ukraine? Are you not see what's happening to the Kurds right now? Like, how many people, how many nations on the borders of America's adversaries have to be abandoned by the United States before you finally get wise that you're nothing but cannon fodder, meat for the grinder? We will support you if it's in our immediate profit. It doesn't even need to be really in our interest. And we'll switch up on you instantly. It would be fucking insane to throw your lot in with the United States as Taiwan, right as we are collapsing as a world power. I mean, look how quickly we took the THAAD systems out of South Korea. When the ones in the Middle East got hit by Iranian drones, we immediately shipped those THAAD systems out of South Korea. We were like, fuck you guys. You guys don't need THAAD systems. Meanwhile, of all the regions of the world that supposedly might need THAAD, it's Asia. Because North Korea, the big bad, right? North Korea is the big bad. They have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear ICBMs where a THAAD system would be justified to try to shoot down those ICBMs being launched. But they were like, nah, that's not real. North Korea is not going to actually shoot their nukes. They're not really a threat. It's all bullshit. And they immediately moved those systems out as soon as ones in the Gulf got hit. Because they know that China and North Korea are not aggressive enemies. We are the ones who are aggressing against them. And so our military positioning is there to contain and attack them, not the other way around. And that's why we could easily move them out. And there's no threat. China didn't say like, oh my God, the United States' magazines are getting low on their exquisite weapons and they moved a THAAD battery out of South Korea. Time to invade Taiwan. Notice that there's absolutely no tension. They didn't even ramp up the tension. Like, they just let it happen. So all this idea that China and North Korea are some grand threat to the United States has been borne out by the fact that nothing has happened as the U.S. has drawn down its weapons from the region.
Leading into the trip, saying that he knew that Xi Jinping was going to bring it up. But when the president was asked about it earlier today, when he was at a cultural event at the Temple of Heaven, he was briefly asked by the Pool multiple times whether or not he talked about Taiwan with Xi Jinping, and the president ignored those questions. And then when you see the two readouts from both sides, you highlighted that the Chinese government mentioned Taiwan multiple times in what they said the discussions that were had between the two leaders, issuing a warning essentially saying that if the U.S. doesn't change its position, if it doesn't approach this properly, then the relationship between China and the U.S. will be in, quote, great jeopardy. But there was no mention of Taiwan in the readout from the White House official that we received. Instead, it was all focused on Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. So, again, you know, look, I was talking to former national security officials leading into this, and currently I'm still talking to them, and they are concerned about what the president may concede when it comes to Taiwan to extract some help with Iran, Jackie.
Laura, stick with me for just a sec because I want to talk more about this. But MS Now is citing 3 U.S. officials with knowledge of the matter who say there is now concern amongst U.S. officials that private Chinese military companies are considering selling shoulder-launched anti-aircraft missiles to Iran. This is via third-party countries. The officials add that it isn't clear whether any Chinese-made missiles have been delivered to Iran or the extent to which the Chinese government has approved the sales. But U.S. intelligence agencies are monitoring possible shipments, including countries in Africa. The Chinese government has repeatedly denied arms sales to Tehran, but one U.S. official is telling MS Now's David Rohde, quote, we're tracking a number of deals.
Okay, so private Chinese companies selling weapons to Iran is different than China actively giving weapons to Iran as a state policy. Like, I want you to understand right now that if China wanted, they could fly convoys of heavy transport planes directly into Iran, escorted by Chinese fighters, right into Iranian airspace and unload massive amounts of cutting-edge anti-aircraft technology and drones. They could absolutely do that if they wanted, and they're not. So this idea that, oh yeah, China is like, they're trying to sell a bunch of weapons to Iran as like a state policy, that's not happening. Now, maybe you could argue they should be doing that. Maybe they should be treating Iran the same way the United States treats Ukraine, right? Maybe they should be doing that. Maybe that would actually constrain the United States in a way that would be helpful for world peace. I don't know. I think that argument, there is definitely a perspective from the Chinese side where that makes sense. You know, like, and I'm sure there are hardliners in China making that argument, like, hey, we have to help defend Iran more directly because otherwise we're going to be, you know, contained. Once they defeat all of the supporting countries around China, then they will crack down on China. So if China wants to remain protected, it has to have buffer regions that are not being contained by the U.S.
There's definitely some activity.
China does not want to get involved in Middle Eastern affairs because it has good relations with the Gulf states. Exactly. And the other thing is that this is the material reality from China's perspective. They're an oil importer. Right? They don't produce much oil in China. Due to the luck of geography, there isn't much oil in China, okay? And so they rely on, because all of modern industry relies on liquid fuels. That's what oil provides. What the advantage that oil provides over every other form of energy is that it's a ready supply of liquid fuel that's energy dense, okay? And there isn't a good alternative for that right now in a lot of applications. And then also there's the petrochemical, you know, uses for oil that is also really important part of industry as well. So it's not a fully replaceable or substitutable product right now, at least economically. You know, like you could do a lot of stuff with the Fischer-Tropsch process and maybe like liquefaction of coal. That kind of stuff is expensive and environmentally damaging. So China doesn't want to do that. In fact, what they're trying to do is electrify their economy, so they need as few liquid fuels as possible. That's their long-term goal. But it takes a lot of time because they're also trying to grow their economy, and raise the standard of living of their people, because that's part of their legitimacy. So they have all these plates they're spinning. They actually care about their people.
That any sales are being conducted by private Chinese companies, but some express skepticism that the Chinese government would be unaware of such sales, saying, quote, China is at a minimum helping Iran stay afloat in this war and blockade. Laura, do you think that the president is expected to ask China for assistance with this issue in particular, especially considering this new reporting and how that could affect ongoing negotiations? I mean, the president in the past, when asked about the sort of invisible levers that China is pulling on right now with regards to replenishing their military capabilities, has simply said that China is being a great actor, but it seems like that might not be the case.
Yeah, I mean, what a senior U.S. official told us, even ahead of this, was that the president had talked to Xi Jinping multiple times, stressing, the desire that China would not purchase as much oil or goods or help Iran, which, keep them afloat during this conflict, during this war. So, yes, it's expected that the president is going to continue to push China on Iran and on their aid to Iran and on whether or not there could be these arms sales. But again, we have very limited information at this point in terms of how this first bilateral meeting went. We know that talks are going to continue into tomorrow between the two leaders. And I have to say that based on the sources I've talked to, the expectations are relatively low in terms of what kind of big deliverable President Trump is going to be able to get from China when it comes to help with Iran. But it's certainly something that the White House, that President Trump is speaking with to Xi Jinping about, Jackie.
MS Now White House reporter Laura Barone-Lopez in Beijing. Thank you so much.
Basically restructured coal to herald energy differently. They did this. I'm not a big believer in clean coal technology. I don't care who says they're doing it. Even China's saying they're doing it. And yes, Chinese coal plants are a lot better than American coal plants, but coal sucks. It's very bad. The thing about China is they have an economy. They have regions that are very dependent on the coal trade. So they have their own West Virginias, right? So when they're like, hey, we're going to get rid of coal, we're talking about millions of people's lives that are going to be destroyed. And they're going to have to find a new profession. They're going to have to find a new way of supporting that community, a new way of generating economic activity in those places. So it's not free of any cost. Coal should only be used for steel. Honestly, if you did that, you would use a lot less coal. The thing that people don't understand is that minerals do not actually produce much carbon. Mineral extraction is actually a very small part of mining in general. Mining in general is overwhelmingly fossil fuels. As I said, it's 1,000 times more intense to produce our energy with fossil fuels of mining and extraction than it is from using solar panels. I had a crash out over it last week or earlier in this week because of that. That fact, people don't understand it. They don't get it. They don't know anything about how the world works.
Inzamam, this visit could not come at a more precarious time, as Trump even himself acknowledges this ceasefire seems to be on life support. Where do things stand where you are right now in the Middle East? What are the Gulf nations watching for on this trip?
Well, all eyes will be on this trip, there's no doubt, because President Trump going to China at this time during this conflict, at the moment that we're in during this conflict as well, where the ceasefire hangs in the balance, where negotiations...
Chat, we just had a weird bump of viewership. Yes, it'll probably go back down.
Pretty much aren't going anywhere, and then the US going to visit a superpower like China, who is effectively, remember, on the other side of President Trump when it comes to this conflict, is massively significant. China's got a strong relationship with the Gulf nations. It's played a huge role when it comes to not just business and trade within the Gulf nations, but actually playing a diplomatic role as well. Remember, back in 2023, China helped broker the peace between Saudi Arabia and...
Styx was trying to climb on the back of my walk on the top of my monitors, and they're approximately this thick. It's bro, come on.
Iran, it played a vital role in that, and I think President Trump will be wanting to head to China to try and get them to offer their assistance in something similar. As Laura mentioned, yes, he will be asking President Xi to push China, to push Iran to open up the Strait of
There it
Hormuz.
went, chat. The weird viewer bump left. There's like 1,000 viewers. Weird.
And I think China, on the other hand, will know that they've got the upper hand given their strong relationship with Iran, given their strong economic ties with Iran, especially around the Strait of Hormuz.
Would you consider changing the 200K channel point redemption to show one of the cats on stream? Actually, chat, I'm going to be adding, speaking of the cats. Okay, VO doesn't want me to spoil. Never mind. VO's in charge of here. One window says 3.8K, the other says 4.9K. Yeah, exactly.
They will know that they will have the upper hand when it comes to applying some of that pressure onto Iran. I think that's hugely important because then in response, President Trump can get, President Xi will be able to get something out of President Trump if he does him a bit of a favor by pushing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But look, right now, I think all eyes on the Gulf will be directly on this visit because the Gulf nations in particular don't have much hope for Pakistan to broker this deal between Iran and the US. They don't have much faith in a small country like Pakistan to enable this to happen, despite all their efforts, despite the work that they put in to get the two sides in a meeting room. Obviously, that's not happened for a second time as of yet. And as we mentioned, those negotiations haven't been going well as of late. So I think the Gulf nations will be hoping that China can potentially step in and also assist with those talks.
Max, over the course of this war, Trump has lamented that China wasn't doing enough to help end this conflict, but then he's also said that the U.S. doesn't need Beijing's help to end this conflict. Just kind of pivoting or dovetailing off of what Inzi was mentioning there, how critical is Chinese support in resolving this conflict with Iran?
I don't think China is going to be a major factor in resolving this conflict. I don't think they're eager to do Trump any favors. They realize that they're sitting on some of the largest oil stockpiles in the world. So they have many months of leeway before the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz begins to bite them. And frankly, I think they're probably happy to let Trump twist in the wind and deal with the consequences of his own reckless war of choice. I think the Chinese realize that Trump is coming to Beijing probably weaker than any previous U.S. president who has ever met a Chinese leader before, because not only is Trump weakened by the war with Iran, he is also weakened by the Supreme Court rulings undermining his authority to willy-nilly slap tariffs on China.
Yeah, did you guys see that? The Supreme Court, this is something that I should have mentioned, but the Supreme Court just ruled that Donald Trump did not have the authority to enact the 10% tariffs on all the countries. So all that tariff mumbo-jumbo nonsense has been largely reined in. And it's weird, chat. The Supreme Court is like the Republican Party can do whatever it wants except tax capitalism. Isn't that odd?
In other countries. And he's
Are we
also
going to talk about Chud the Builder? Oh, I really should. That guy is a total piece of shit, huh? Is there like a good, anybody who's done good coverage or made a video on it so I could be lazy? Because I really don't want to go through it. That feels like a video tailor-made for Moist Critical. Did Moist Critical make a video yet? Or is he covering it up because the guy's a right-winger? A judge overturned the sanctions on Francesca? Oh, that's really great. That feels like a Moist Critical video. Mike, are there American vehicle CEOs among those in the USA entourage? I think I saw a list, but I'm too lazy to look it up. If somebody wants to find it for me. I'm doing lazy maxing today. I'm fucking tired, man. I want to do lazy maxing. Now I'm giving you guys quests for a change. You guys find the list. There was a list of CEOs that are going with Trump, and we'll go through it if you find it for me. Streamer is tired. Yeah, I'm fucking tired.
Weakened because China stared him down last year in their big trade showdown where Trump threatened tariffs of over 100% on China. And China said, oh, yeah, you want to play that game? We're going to cut off rare earth minerals to the U.S. economy. And Trump had to back down. So now
CNBC incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was not invited to the incredible gathering of the world's greatest businessmen and women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen is currently on Air Force One, and unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely, CNBC's reporting is incorrect, or as they say in politics, fake news. It is an honor to have Jensen, Elon, Tim Apple, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly Ortberg, Brian Sykes, Jane Fraser. It's so funny, the people that are not like Trump knows who's not famous enough that you know who they are. So he'll put what's company they're CEO of if they aren't famous enough. Brian Sykes Cargill, Jane Fraser Citi, Larry Culp, GE Aerospace, David Solomon, Goldman Sachs, Sanjay Mehrotra, Micron, Cristiano Amon, Qualcomm, and many others journeying to the great country of China, where I will be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. In fact, I promise that when we are together, which will be in a matter of hours, I will make that my very first request. I have never seen or heard of any idea that would be more beneficial to our incredible countries. President Donald J. Trump. Trump, the great nation builder. Iran war accelerates Chinese EV makers' global expansion, echoing Japan's 1970s rise. Except they're not allowed to trade in the U.S. They're not allowed to trade in the U.S., which is very fucking weird, right? Like, you would think the ultimate car country would be allowed to buy cars. Like, what the? This is so fucking stupid, man. I want to go and buy myself a Chinese EV right now. Such bullshit. What China should do is let me and Hasan start a BYD dealership. Come on, China. I'll quit streaming to be a BYD dealership owner. Make me, I just want 100 BYD dealerships owned by me. That would be the easiest money print in the history of humanity. The easiest money print in the history of humanity. Holy shit. And then people be like, he's just so good at capitalism. Can you buy American cars in China? Of course you can. China was Tesla's like number one market after the US for years and years and years and years. EVs are woke, Mike. All right, let's keep going. I'm woke then. I'm woke as fuck.
I don't think Trump is in a very strong position to demand anything, much less China resolving the Iran war, which I don't think they can do anyway, because for Iran, it's an existential matter of regime survival. So they're not going to do any favors for China or anybody else. They're going to do what they think is in their best interest.
Mark, amid Trump's tariffs, we've seen China step in and grow its economic partnerships. It does have its own economic perils as well, but is America's geopolitical and economic influence waning? Is it on the decline? And is China's on the rise? Is that an accurate forecast?
Short answer, yes. And I'll double down on Max's remarks. For the Chinese, it's a situation of never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake. And to put it in the broader geopolitical context, what the United States is doing or has done over the last year and a half is alienate so many of its longstanding allies. And one of our major strategic advantages over the Chinese, militarily, economically, and politically, has been that if there is ever some sort of confrontation, whether it's kinetic or non-kinetic, we were always able to know, and they knew, that we would be able to stand with our allies, that it wouldn't just be a U.S.-China confrontation, it would be Japan, it would be the South Koreans, it would be NATO allies potentially, and we've sort of abdicated that with the way we've been treating our NATO allies. The other place, and this is where the Chinese have really been taking advantage of the situation, is in our unilateral disarmament of many of our weapons of soft power, whether we're talking about USAID, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia. The Chinese are stepping in where there is no longer a U.S. narrative or capability for the U.S. to take action. And I'm extremely worried about this both in the short term for the summit, but also over the long term in terms of Chinese ability to influence and persuade others around the world.
Laura, let's talk for a moment about how Americans are perceiving all of this. Trump is overseas as he faces tough political problems here at home. Inflation has risen to its highest levels in 3 years. Gas is at about $4.51 a gallon, and Americans are feeling it. Listen.
Red meat avoiding. I'll get maybe the chicken drumsticks when they're 99 cents on sale.
We're a 5-member family, you know, we have 3 kids, so life is hard.
We just got to kind of just bite down and take this hit.
Americans are making tough choices. Clearly, they're not happy in many circumstances, and the president is wholly focused on the war with Iran, on the global stage. Is there any concern inside the White House that you're hearing, Laura, about over-allocating to foreign policy while Americans are frustrated and feeling the financial pain at home.
Well, there was concern even prior to the president launching this war against Iran, with the president's focus on many international and overseas interactions and being focused on other countries and his foreign policy agenda. But yes, when it comes to the upcoming midterms, when it comes to voters, are people in and around the White House and close to the president concerned about the way voters are viewing the economy and that now the president is underwater on it? Yes, they are. But the president himself has said over and over again, and said it as he was heading to this to Beijing. He said that he believes that the increasing cost of gas, the increasing cost of oil per barrel is a small cost to pay for Americans, because ultimately his end goal here, which again is looming over this summit, is to make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Now, of course,
I think, listen, call me crazy, but the United States has now created a situation where it would be good for world peace if Iran got a nuclear weapon. That is the world that Donald Trump has created, where many countries around the world are going to be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense if they get a nuclear weapon. And they'll be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And Iran is already being sanctioned to death, so why do they care? India and Pakistan illegally broke the non-proliferation agreements and developed nuclear weapons. And yeah, they got sanctioned for a little bit, but largely people just accepted it as reality. Same thing with North Korea. It's now just accepted as reality that they have a nuclear weapon. So the costs of getting a nuclear weapon are short-term, opprobrium from the world. Maybe you get some sanctions on your economy. But Iran is literally getting physically attacked and blockaded. What do they have to lose at this point? They have nothing to lose. So the sooner they get a nuclear weapon, the sooner they can reestablish a credible deterrent from Israel.
The U.S. is not necessarily any closer to that. All of those goalposts that the president set for this war, we haven't seen any tangible results on to date. And we're nearing the...
What movie is this from?
You're going to get out. You're going to go overseas, right? Studying up your Mandarin?
French.
French. Why the fuck French?
I'm going to France.
You should go to China.
I'm going to France.
I'm from the future. You should go to China.
Okay, I remember that. Okay, Looper. I haven't seen that in a long time. I'm from the future. Go to China. I mean, honestly, chat, if I was at a different stage of my life, I probably would. I probably would go check it out.
Third month of the war, Ariel.
So, Mark, to that end, there's been new MS Now reporting that Iran has regained access to 30 out of its 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz, and that 70% of the country's pre-war missile stockpile also remain operational. That's diverging from what Trump has been saying. He's claimed that the capabilities have been decimated. Where do you believe the disconnect is here? And how concerned are you that Tehran maintains this kind of military prowess?
Well, this has been one of the issues that's been ongoing since the beginning of the war. Even if we were successful tactically or operationally taking out Iranian military capability here and there, it did not mean we would necessarily end up in a stronger position, and we haven't. But now, if this reporting is accurate and there are intelligence community assessments that the Iranians have actually been able to keep that military capability, then it puts the entire rationale, not just the rationale, but the way we went about.
Decimated is correct, reduced by 1/10. Yes, I know. I hate the way people, and maybe even I do this sometimes, but I do kind of hate the way people don't use decimated correctly. Like, we have a word already. We have extirpated, we have annihilated, we have destroyed. Like, we already have so many words for like completely destroy, right? And decimated is reduced by 1/10, right? We have a word that's very specific, has a very specific use, but we're obliterated. We have got so many. And yet they want to make yet another synonym for the same thing. It's like, can you just use the many other synonyms instead of like destroying the language again by making it dumber? You have figuratively. Can we use literally for literally and figuratively for figuratively? It's not a complicated or hard word to remember. It is reduced by 1/10. Decimated is reduced by 1/10 because it comes from Rome, which would be a punishment for legions that, showed cowardice in combat or whatever, is that they would kill 1/10 of the legionaries. It's a severe punishment. So you would decimate. Mike, my point with the CEOs of the USA entourage was that there was no American vehicle CEOs among them. Does that mean Chinese vehicles are on the table for the US? I mean, if that happened, I would go to BYD's website and I would buy the first car. I would pre-order, like, I'd be number one on the list. Literally number one. Mike, in China, Buick sells a 600 horsepower electric minivan for $68,000 that could charge from 10 to 80% at 11.5 minutes, could do 337 at a full charge. I mean, that's not even really a good, that's not even a good electric vehicle in Chinese standards, and it's expensive. That sounds like an American fucking competitor. That's not even that good.
Out the war in doubt. I really think there needs to be a direct set of hearings on the Iran war, not just the budget hearings that we've seen this week or the authorization hearings we saw a couple of weeks ago. But Congress has to dig deeply into this, because if we don't start understanding what went wrong, then we're never going to understand how to fix it. And that is a huge concern for me.
Mac.
I mean, I'm sure BYD.
MS Now White House reporter Laura Barone Lopez is in Beijing.
Okay, did we watch this one yet? I don't know. I wanted to watch more like reactions to. Oh, here we go.
Something we've been covering with China, where President Trump and President Xi Jinping are wrapping up a very busy day of diplomacy. The two leaders met overnight. The White House says they agreed on several issues, including Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. I saw this one
because they talked to regular Chinese people, and it was funny. So I wanted to show it to you.
But one issue U.S. officials did not mention was Taiwan, an item at the top of the list for China's leader. CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopo is in Taiwan. Tony, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nate. So according to Chinese state media, they had a readout. President Xi warned President Trump that not only is Taiwan the most important issue between the U.S. and China, but that if it's mishandled, the two nations could collide or even come into conflict. That's how we put it. Now, what, if anything, did President Trump say in response? We don't yet know, because as you mentioned, the official White House summary did not mention Taiwan. Here's what we do know, though. Trump's visit began with a grand welcome in Beijing, a 21-gun salute from Chinese soldiers, and the Chinese military band played the Star-Spangled Banner. The leaders then took part in a closed-door meeting in the Great Hall of the People, and the message afterwards was all about a shared willingness to work together.
It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
The White House called it a good meeting overall and said the two leaders talked about ways to increase Chinese investment in the U.S. And on that point, the leaders of some of the biggest recognizable companies in America also joined for part of the meeting. Among the leaders, Tim Cook and Elon Musk. Another area of agreement, at least according to the U.S. side, that key oil shipping corridor, the Strait of Hormuz, needs to be open, and Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Beyond the substance, Xi took Trump for some sightseeing. The Temple of Heaven in Beijing was on the itinerary. And at a lavish state banquet, President Trump toasted the long relationship.
Everybody bend the knee to Moxie Mainframe for completing the side quest. Moxie Mainframe gets one medallion of mic rep. Who was on the plane? Oh, wait, this isn't the full. Never mind. I revoke it. Wait, is this everybody? Okay, maybe this is everybody. I unrevoke the revocation. Maybe this is actually everybody. Okay, so we have Visa, Qualcomm, Micron, Meta, MasterCard, Illumina. What the fuck is Illumina? Okay, so it makes like DNA sequencing machines. Okay, yeah. Okay, interesting. Goldman Sachs, GE Aerospace, Coherent, which is a laser company from Saxonburg, Pennsylvania. I'm learning all sorts of new companies. Citigroup chairman Jane Fraser, probably one of the most evil companies in the world, Cargill. If you would have if there were any company where I was like, there is some real demonic shit coming out of that, it's definitely Cargill. This is like, they just hate humans and they hate life. And they just twist, oh man, the most evil, putrid slime that's ever fed to living creatures is produced by Cargill. They do some evil ass shit. They're like trying to figure out ways they could vibrate your bones to get the last chunk of meat off of it. Like, I'm pretty sure Cargill invented pink slime, right? And it's a privately held company, so it's even more secretive. I mean, it's like one of the biggest companies in the world, and it's like private. Bioindustrial. You know, that's definitely. Okay, anyway, Blackstone chairman and BlackRock chairman. I feel like you shouldn't be allowed. Man, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, and David Solomon are all going to China. What does a banker need to do like? Why is a banker going? What do they have to offer to China? What are these like hedge fund guys? What are they offering China? Like, I could understand why these other companies go, right? What is MasterCard CEO?
Covering the summit, also with us, MS Now international affairs analyst, former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael Mc.
The River One, how campaigners in Brazilian Amazon stop privatization of waterway. A victory for life. That was the triumphal message from indigenous campaigners in the Brazilian Amazon this week after they staved off a threat to the Tapajós River by occupying a grain terminal occupied by Cargill, the biggest privately owned company in the United States. Yeah. Cargill doing evil shit again.
Fall and Shihoto Goto, Shihoko Goto of the Foreign
banking
Policy
here, it's just for the payment rails. I don't think China's giving those up, right?
Research Institute. Thanks you all for joining us. Laura, starting with you, the two leaders met today amid the backdrop of the war with Iran, of course, global economic uncertainty. What did they discuss?
All right, fuck MSNBC. What is Trump saying himself?
And you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, you know, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that.
The issue, and you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, you know, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that.
The issue, and you've been...
I'm trying to find, chat, the Fox News. Oh, my God. Here we go. Brett Baer. Brett Baer just walked into traffic.
In fact, our driver parked illegally for 2 minutes, and he got a message on his phone that he got a ticket for about $40 US because they saw it on the camera. Now, there are real questions what the CCP's goal is about citizen tracking.
That's good, you idiot! That's good, you fucking moron! They have a camera that looks down the street. Oh my God, we have the same shit. They just don't ever use it for things like that because it's there to monitor black people, not white people, you know, committing crimes. You got a parking ticket because you parked illegally. Wow, that's called an efficient society. Holy shit. And they didn't have to have a stupid meter maid driving around wasting energy to ticket you. They could just see that you parked illegally and you got a ticket right away, so you won't do it anymore. Wow, that's amazing.
Social scoring.
What's he doing? What the fuck is he doing standing in traffic? I'm sorry, chat, but like, it's so funny. Xi Jinping issues severe warning to Trump.
Contributor and Heritage Foundation senior fellow Michael Pillsbury. Michael, you can always...
Decouple is the answer and get all U.S. land back from the CCP. I almost want Trump to do that. I legitimately want... It would be really, really, really funny if Donald Trump tried to decouple from China. Like, legitimately. I mean, our economy would go to zero. I mean, there would be an absolute extreme economic crash. There would be pure panic. And obviously, Donald Trump would fold in 5 minutes.
Read between the lines better than anybody else. You know the Chinese, I would argue, better than anybody else. What's your takeaway from what we saw? Maybe you see something else.
Well, I see two things. One is I see the superficial appearance of friendship, relationship. 1784 is when our first American ship came here. Mutual respect. All the things Bill Hemmer is saying are certainly true. And I congratulate Bill Hemmer on his profile. He's been doing profiles all around Beijing on the Great Wall and showing pictures of himself 20 or 30 years ago. That's all reality. We can celebrate it. It's good news. But from the point of view of a China expert who's seen these things for 30 years now or more, some really bad news is coming out. First of all, the warning about Taiwan. That never happens. This is the first time I've ever heard a Chinese leader in the foreign ministry issue such a severe warning.
Champagne socialist, thank you. So wait a minute. Wait. Fox News is saying Donald Trump is getting humiliated
on Taiwan. That if it's not, it's very vague. If it's not handled carefully, then there will be conflict. That's not usually put into the, happy talk at a banquet. Mm-hmm. The American side is totally silent on that issue, on the issue of Taiwan. The other thing that Chinese did is they used a term that is almost kind of nasty. It's hard to translate. It's called gao huai in Mandarin. Gao huai. Gao means to...
Can we get some bended knees for Champagne Socialist resubscribing for 12 months at tier 3? Can we get a bended fucking knee?
Screw. Huai means bad. I noticed the translation was by the Chinese side. When they put it into English, it was don't. Well, that's not quite as strong as what it sounds like in Mandarin. Mm-hmm. So yes, everything's wonderful, big success. Steve Daines did a lot to make this all happen, working with David Perdue as ambassador, and Susie Wiles had a role too. So that's all wonderful. But the other thing that wasn't brought up at all, the reason we're here really, is the Chinese agreed reluctantly to a 1-year moratorium on their export license system to block ring magnets from going to America. That hasn't been mentioned. The time runs out. The moratorium runs out very soon. We can be back to a problem where our factories cannot make turbine engines, cars, even the windshield wiper motor in your car requires a little ring magnet. No progress, no mention of it. So we have a lot more to...
The United States can't even make ring magnets? And China is about to shut down our entire industry with one blockade. Like, it's so funny. America runs around the world blockading countries and denying them international trade, denying them the opportunity to, make their own way in the world, interferes with them financially, economically, politically. And then China's like, yeah, we're not selling you ring magnets anymore. And we're in panic mode.
Here, I think tomorrow.
Right. What do you mean by no mention,
really
Michael?
Happening behind the scenes.
We can't possibly know what they discussed. I mean, it could have been discussed there. You expected to hear that in the speech?
I didn't expect the Chinese to give such a serious warning. Not the banquet speech. You didn't bring it up at the banquet. That would have been impolite. But in the statement...
You're talking about the statement about Taiwan? Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, I was talking about the magnets.
Do you want me to read it? It's a paragraph. President Xi stressed to President Trump that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations. If it is handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. Taiwan independence and cross-strait peace are as irreconcilable as fire and water. Safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is the biggest common denominator between China and the U.S.
And this was from the spokesperson, Michael.
See, tomorrow morning, China either will or will not send 10 jet bombers.
How come the reporting from Fox News is legitimately better than the reporting from MSNBC? It's actually shocking how bad MSNBC is. Like, he's talking about very factual and important stories like, hey, there's a ring magnet export ban that was going to severely threaten American manufacturing. There's oh man, the Chinese spoke very tough about Taiwan and very aggressively, and the United States didn't respond. It's like actually factual reporting. Meanwhile, MSNBC is like, Donald Trump is too much of a pussy towards China. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Around Taiwan, they've been doing this for a year and a half now. Or they'll send, in addition, 10 Navy warships around Taiwan. That either stops, we'll be able to read about it on the Taiwan Defense Ministry website. They put up how many ships and bombers are circling their country. That either stops, which is fantastically good news, or it doesn't, which means we better be very careful in handling the Taiwan issue.
Yeah.
The word jeopardy was in there. Remember that? Place the relationship in jeopardy. It sounds much tougher in Chinese.
Michael, I'll talk to you on radio in a couple hours. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Oh my God. And like, the thing is, none of this has to happen, right? Like, we don't have to be in some sort of conflict with China. We could just be like, hey, we'll treat you like a partner that we have been for 30 years. But then these pieces of shit, you know, when it was all fun and games when American union labor was losing their jobs, right? And factories were being outsourced to China. It was all fun and games when they thought they were going to have China as the world's sweatshop. And then the Chinese took the money they made and the expertise they learned, and they kept moving up the chain. What started out as making t-shirts and plastic crap for Walmart, they started moving up. And they were making bicycles, and then they were making motorcycles. And now they're making fucking commercial jets and electric vehicles, and they have solar panels and cutting-edge batteries, communications technology, space technology. Like, they just kept moving up the chain. They didn't stop and become America's sweatshop. They didn't act like we expected them to act. They actually invested in their own country. They contained their capitalists. They raised hundreds of millions of people out of poverty because they were given access to the world. And they weren't supposed to do that.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming.
Much, much, much worse.
Let's bring in Fox News chief political anchor, special report guy and anchor and executive editor, where he calls that place home every day, 6 o'clock Eastern time, but he's a long way from Eastern time. Brett, your takeaway so far as it relates to the Iran war, because right now the headlines, even in the Arab news, are Iran is that Trump and Xi, Hormuz must stay open and Iran must not have a nuclear weapon. They agree on those two things.
Yeah, Brian, good morning, your time. I think that is the message from the White House, is that President Xi put out and agreed that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, that the Strait of Hormuz has to be open. That's the message that came out from the White House. We don't have specifics yet of a readout of the specifics on the bilat. Hope to get more on that, the conversation. From the Chinese perspective, what they put out to their state-run agency was what Mark just referenced, and that is that Taiwan is the biggest issue for them, and that if handled properly, it would be great between the U.S. and China. If handled improperly, in their words, it could lead to conflict and clashes. That was seen as a kind of a veiled threat here, reading between the lines from President Xi. But everything on the pomp and circumstance suggests that this relationship is moving forward and they're having good meetings. We hope to get some more granular details on Iran pretty soon.
The language reminds me, Brett, of something that might be read out after we had a meeting with the EU in different times, where we talked about cooperation, growing together, not getting in each other's way, having mutual respect, and it would be a great thing for the world to respect both powers. We're two of the most powerful. All the things seem so positive, but in reality, with the spying that's going on here, with what's happening with the secret police that exist here, with the way they've...
It's so funny because America has multiple secret police. We've got multiple secret police, and China has one state security bureau called the Ministry of State Security. Meanwhile, we've got NSA, DIA, CIA, FBI, Secret Service, ICE. Fuck, I mean, there's more. I'm not thinking about them right now, but ATF, Customs and Border Patrol. Like, we've got so fucking many. In China, they're like the secret police, and it's like, how many fucking secret police do we have?
Infiltrated through cyber attacks into our water system and everything else. It portrays a much different relationship than the words did.
Yeah, 100%, and you can see that here. You can see the communist CCP has a lot of control over folks. I did a thing about cameras on the streets. There are thousands and thousands of cameras. If you watch TV from any broadcast that's not here, when they talk about something negative about China, it goes to bars and says, please stand by. If you talk about human rights or anything like that, it shuts off for like 30 seconds. And I saw it 3 times before I just came here for this live shot. So, yes, what's public is one thing, what's private is another. The key thing about this summit is the private stuff, and if President Trump can get some real deliverables leaving here in Beijing.
So Brett, you know what I was struck by, and I thought you was right up your alley, our alley, really. The president went up there and talked about the historic relationship between the countries. He talked about 1784, and he talked about how they referred to us as the new people. We called it the New World. Talked about what Teddy Roosevelt thought, and talked about how they contributed to the Washington Monument, the respect that they have for George Washington. That does play in to your case for America, right, on the year 250. It is right up your alley in terms of your book.
Yes. Thank you. Nice transition, Brian. I think it does, and it's a look back. Even President Xi got up there and did a hat tip.
I mean, like the way that they communicate about China, it's always focused on pushing these like propagandistic narratives. You notice that? It's like if socialism and communism is so bad and so evil, how come they're so fucking strong? It's a contradiction. It doesn't make sense, right? Like if capitalism is so clearly the right answer, how come a socialist country, if they're a communist and they're dangerous, why are they so fucking powerful then? Why are they out competing us on every metric?
The 250th, getting ready for this anniversary on the Declaration. Proud to say a #1 New York Times bestseller. Thank you for all the people that bought the book.
Wow,
and listen, I think that
billionaires buying bulk of the right-wing influencers shit is so embarrassing. Like nobody's reading Brett. No one's going, I can't wait to get the Brett Baer book. Like, what are we saying? What the fuck are we? Who are we kidding? Who the fuck are we kidding?
Is laying the case for making, America great, but he has a lot of challenges, a lot of headwinds back home. People feel the economy and the gas prices and want to know when the Iran war is coming to an end. So, they're looking ahead to this anniversary and to celebrate America, but there's some challenges between here and there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And by the way, Brett, the other thing that he said is any help, according to Ainsley was talking to Sean about an interview that's going to air tonight on his show. One of the things he said, any help you need on Iran will help you. That's interesting, right? I mean, for example, one phone call to whoever's the supreme leader to open up the strait, and that strait would open up. So it's an interesting statement to make.
Okay. Isn't this just an acknowledgement that Xi Jinping is much more powerful than Donald Trump, and that he's really the most powerful man?
I mean, that'd be a huge thing. China buys most of Iran's oil, and you would think that would have a significant movement. I think the White House and the administration is trying to play it like they're not begging Beijing to get involved, maybe soft play it, but I bet they would like that kind of intervention to bring this to an end.
Can't wait for your interview tomorrow night on Special Report with the President of the United States. He seems quite happy. There's some times when he's not, but you'll have a chance to find out what really happened, too. That'll be tomorrow on Special Report, and we'll check you out tonight at 6 and tomorrow at 6. Brett, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brett.
Be sure to like.
The fact that these weirdos get to walk around pretending people read their books and Walter Rooney is criminal. I mean, it's just... Z is so damn strong, he doesn't even need to beg anything. Trump and his 20 CEOs are the ones prostrating in front of Xi asking for help. Well, yeah, no shit. What's funny is a lot of people's perspective of what China looks like is so stuck in the past, even like from 10 years ago. And they're improving even faster. That's the thing. It's not like the rate of change was quick for a minute and then stopped. It's just, it's accelerating. And in fact, the crisis that China has, the real crisis that is facing China, is that they're advancing humanity so fast that they have to convince their own people to consume a lot more. Chinese nation is culturally very conservative, and they keep their consumption low, and they save a lot, and they focus on family, right? But what they need is for people to consume more because their economy is just so efficient at producing goods that they don't have enough consumers. Like, they're not buying enough of their own stuff. Oh, this is so funny. Trump glazes Xi.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I have an amazing show for everybody today.
Oh, this is even better. No. Fox News shocked by China's tech advantages. Oh, fuck. This is awesome.
I think probably the biggest outcome of this meeting is going to be a lot of Fox News grandmas realizing just how behind we are technologically, how much more advanced China is at this point, because Brett Baer is there on the ground doing all this like on the ground reporting. One of the big things, they made a big deal about the fact they illegally parked for 2 minutes and got a ticket right away, which, for the law and order people,
That's good. That's fucking good. Good. It's so funny. They'll be like, China is such an evil authoritarian state. And then they're like, everybody, we should install a flock camera to zoom into your bathroom to make sure you're not taking a shit communistically. Yeah, the flock cameras are not going to be used to, like, you know, actually ensure your safety or anything, but we will spy on people who call themselves Antifa. Meanwhile, in China, if you drop your laptop and you forget it on the sidewalk, no one will touch it. Well, that's actually not true. Somebody will, the police will come and pick it up and take it to the community lost and found. Yes, they have community lost and found in China. Like that is the difference. That's what the Chinese police are doing. Oh, somebody lost their wallet. Yeah, let's put it in the community lost and found. Oh, okay. Let me give a guy the call. Hey, you dropped your wallet. We have it over here at the police stations. You can come by and get it anytime. Nobody took anything. Bye. That's the difference. Oh, you left your fucking jacket with your passport in a park? You go to the police and they help you find your jacket. That's important to them. In America, someone steals your car and they laugh in your face. Someone breaks into your home, they laugh in your face. It's a different society. It's on a completely different level. Honestly, like, I think a lot of left-wingers are uncomfortable with talking about how safe China is because they kind of feel like it's carceral or something. But the Chinese imprison a lot less people than we do. They have a much safer society and they imprison a lot less people. But when someone commits an antisocial act, they're identified quickly. And it's like, people think of that. Is that an imposition on your freedom to just be able to exist and not be harassed, to not see your neighbors distressed and living on the streets? A community that feels a responsibility to clean up after itself? A community that doesn't try to steal from one another? Is that authoritarian or not? I think a lot of left-wingers have a trouble with me just saying, I think that's better. I think it's better that women can walk alone at night in China's cities without being harassed or threatened or menaced. I think that's a good thing. The normal police in China are not even allowed to carry guns. Yeah, they carry catch poles. It's an old technology. Here's a Chinese woman who's gone nuts. She has a meat cleaver and she's threatening people. They don't use a gun. You see the catch poles? They have shields and they have a catch pole. This is what that is. Up, hook to your foot. Hook to your foot. They're using recycling bins to grab her. Again, in America, they would have fucking blasted her. But yeah, that's a catch pole.
Should be happy about that, right?
That is my dream. That's my dream.
I knew you would like that.
Yeah.
If Palantir was doing it here, they'd be celebrating this marvel of efficiency. But since it's China, it's the authoritarianism.
That is my dream, is to ticket these illegal parkers, red light runners. Some kid rang my doorbell the other day with no soliciting. I'm like, this motherfucker. You know? I was like,
buddy.
Okay.
Such a crotchety old man. But in any case, he also went.
I mean, by the way, chat, this is what China got for about the same price as Trump's new ballroom. The largest high-speed rail train station in the world. We've talked about it before. Chongqing. It also has complete integration, which means that metro stops are in the high-speed rail train. There are buses that go there. So, like, you don't have to, like, park or use some, like, you could just leave the high-speed rail, then hop onto the metro and go to your house. You never have to leave the station. You don't have to do any transfers. It's always there. Like, I almost want to show you more.
Yeah, so today's example of what happens when you don't incinerate money on defense spending and what have you. China just completed the Chongqing East Railway Station this month. This is 1.2 million square meters and took 3 years to complete. Do you know how fast that is? We cannot even repair potholes on La Brea in that time. Bro, are you seeing this? 15 rail lines, 29 stations, hotel, mall, and airport check-in because it's near the airport, I think. This cost them $1.8 billion. Do you know how much we sent to Argentina last year to bail them out of an economic recession? We sent them $40 billion. We don't have enough money for high-speed rail. We don't have enough money for SNAP benefits. Meanwhile, China is building vacuum-sealed high-speed rail because regular high-speed rail is just not fast enough anymore. I don't care. Argue with the wall about the economics and the social structure, whatever. I don't care. I would rather be crying in a high-speed rail car pulling out of this station on my way to my $7 doctor's appointment than the shithole we live in now. Yeah, so today's example of what happens when you don't
I mean, it's not even, and here's the thing. It's not the only one they're doing. That's the thing. Like, people look at this example and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But they're doing it everywhere. They're doing it everywhere. I try to explain this to people, but they're building subways like New York City in like 40 cities. Okay? Do you get it? Like, they're not just doing this in one place as like, oh yeah, look at this amazing, this is like our capstone infrastructure project right now. And I don't, like, LA just built, they're just opening up a subway line, the Wilshire subway line. They're just opening the Miracle Mile subway line in Los Angeles. If you know anything about Los Angeles, that should blow your fucking mind that they didn't have that. You should be like, huh? Huh? What? Huh? One of the most famous roads in the entire world, one of the most densely populated areas in the entire country, doesn't have a subway line? LA has a subway? Yeah, they're just starting to build it. In the last like 20 years, they just started to build it. And it's finally starting to get decent. LA is actually about to have kind of a glow up, I think. I think LA is kind of going to fix itself, I hope. If people like me can get into power, it will.
Is built different. This is what they mean. This area is about 100 kilometers south of Beijing, and back in 2017, it was basically a farmland. Not much was going on, low population, it was pretty rural. Now, this is the same area, but in 2025, a city was built from scratch. It's called Shoeonhead, and what makes it interesting is how deliberate the design is. Traffic lights adjust themselves depending on the flow of cars and pedestrians. Sidewalks and parks absorb rainwater for storage and later use. All of the utilities, power lines, cables, pipelines are hidden underground to optimize land use and avoid disruption in case they needed maintenance. 100% of buildings must meet green standards. That means they have to be energy saving, land saving, water saving, material saving, and environmentally benign. And the whole place is built around the principle that everything you need in daily life should be within 15 minutes. Technology is in the DNA of Shoeonhead. It is embedded in the physical foundation of the city so that it can be of service to the environment and the people. In fact, Shoeonhead has a digital twin that is growing as the city grows. It is powered by sensors everywhere, buildings, bridges, tunnels, electricity boxes that feed their data here, the brain of Shoeonhead that can monitor and optimize how the city runs in real time. And there's a reason for this architecture, to minimize urban problems, because Shoeonhead is built to take some pressure off Beijing. There are over 21 million people living in Beijing, including myself, and super fast urbanization in the early 2000s put strain on the city. So now we have traffic jams, water stress, higher housing costs, and so functions that aren't absolutely essential to the identity of Beijing as capital are now slowly being moved to Shoeonhead. State-owned enterprises, financial firms, corporate headquarters, but also universities, hospitals, research and development centers, science parks, tech companies, and even though Shoeonhead exists because of Beijing, it's also coming into its own. The plan is for the city to become an innovation hub like Shenzhen, but for AI, robotics, drones, satellites, the industries that are going to shape the next few decades. Shoeonhead currently is still being developed. It's twice the size of San Francisco with about 1.4 million people, but China isn't rushing this project. They have an ultra-long plan, as only China can do, that stretches first to 2035 when the construction of Shoeonhead is going to be basically completed and about 20 times the size of San Francisco, and later on in 2050 when the city should have matured. So no wonder in China they call Shoeonhead the city of the future. When people say China is built
I mean, like, it's something that I talk about a lot, but China has built, I think, oh God, I can't remember the number now. Fuck. I've tweeted about it before, but since the Communist Party came into power, they have built, I want to say it is, man, I don't remember the number, but they've built like, I want to say it's 400 cities. Maybe it's more. How many cities has China built since 1949? Let's see if Google knows. Okay, Google says 600, 500 of which are entirely new. I'm a numbers guy, Vinny Grockett.
And to one of these, like, just little, you said this is sort of like a 7-Eleven competitors, and they have the humanoid autonomous robots there that are like serving the goods. And so this was all, you know, broadcast to Fox News audience. This is A10. Let's go ahead and take a look at this from Brett Baer.
Our food order to a very special worker. This is the Family Mart convenience store.
Hold on, let's watch the original video. I think this is it. Might as well just watch the original video. I'm a numbers guy.
China and the U.S. have long been competitors when it comes to their militaries and economies. You heard that from that former official. Artificial intelligence is now a major focus for both countries. Tonight, we take a look at the race to develop the advanced technology.
AI is one of the best tools that the human being ever invented. But on the other hand, there's so much uncertainty surround that. We had to be very careful.
For years, the U.S. outpaced the world in artificial intelligence. But according to Stanford University's most recent AI index released in April, China has nearly erased the U.S. lead. A lot of the talk lately has been about the competition when it comes to technology, artificial intelligence. Does the U.S. really have a lead in AI? And how is this competition, including espionage, shaping up?
The military commander of the Pacific Command has said that he's very steeped in AI for the military's use. He said the U.S. has a tenuous lead on China, and we need to maintain it if we're going to deter China from conducting some type of aggressive action.
My view is the president is moving in a direction of what I would call, in my own language, managed strategic competition with China. Can you carve out some space over here for things so your interests are sufficiently in common that you have to cooperate?
U.S., of course, is the pioneer in the AI development, but China is a latecomer. But also,
I think the main difference you'll see when you watch Chinese thinkers or leaders or academics talking about America or China, the Chinese are always like, you know, we're learning, we are exploring for new ideas, we're cooperating, we don't think we're the best, you know, we're trying to catch up. They have a lot of humility in the way they communicate. When Americans communicate, they assume they're the best, right? In China, they investigate first, then they come to a conclusion. Where in the US, we assume we're number one, and then we ignore all the data to the contrary. And it's like, I'm sorry, but their attitude of like, hey, we're not number one, we've got to improve, is leading to a lot faster improvement than we are number one and you're a traitor if you say we're not.
Doing quite well. And so in that sense, I think that it's so important that we set aside our differences and think about the even bigger benefit for the whole.
And again, the Chinese are always like, hey, we should set aside our differences and cooperate for the betterment of humanity and blah, 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 blah. And the U.S. is like, we're going to dominate the we're going to steal their oil. We're going to steal their resources. We're going to find and kill you. Like, that's the U.S.'s attitude. It's some deranged fascist fucking attitude. And it's embarrassing to have that as our president and as our administration. It's something has got to give, man.
Human beings and the mankind in general.
Henry Wang is the founder and president of the Center for China and Globalization, a non-governmental think tank in Beijing.
We're all living on this planet. You know, we have to conquer Mars together. How we can use AI together is really important.
The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy recently accused China and other foreign entities of AI technology theft. How big a deal is that when it comes to China?
Well, it is a very big deal. I want to make sure we continue to lead, and I want to make sure we continue to get the world's best talent. But I am concerned about espionage. It's a real issue, and we need to make sure that our sensitive technology is not stolen. There have been reports of it being stolen, and we're going to work in a bipartisan commitment way to make sure that does not happen.
Intelligence.
Yeah, the U.S., we've never stolen anything. Anyway, oh wait, never mind. We just stole all of Venezuela's gold. I'm hearing a report about how we just stole all of Venezuela's gold. Carry on.
Officials say the Chinese government spies on nearly every aspect of U.S. life, including businesses, academics, lawmakers, and public opinion.
The FBI has over 2,000 active investigations that trace back to the government of China.
That shocked me then. Has that number increased?
Well, the number's certainly in that range. I would think it probably has increased, but I can't quote you the actual number off. It certainly hasn't gone down. I can assure you that.
Case numbers are one thing. Having cases open is one thing. Disruptions are what I'm focused on.
What planet is that?
When China sent its spy balloon across...
It wasn't a spy balloon! It wasn't a spy balloon! Everyone admitted it wasn't a spy balloon! They're literally just counting on boomers being stupid! It wasn't! Hold on, let me... Oh my God, this is...
The U.S., Biden...
This is so funny. This is from 2023. Chinese spy balloon did collect intelligence as it flew over U.S. Pentagon. The Chinese spy balloon that was shot down over the Atlantic Ocean in early February was built, at least partially, using American off-the-shelf parts. Later Thursday, Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder said the balloon did not only not transmit data back to China, it never collected any. We are aware that it had intelligence collection capabilities, but it was and it has been our assessment now that it did not collect while it was transiting the United States. At the same time, we also took steps to mitigate the potential collective effort, aka it was a fucking weather balloon or something, and it had the ability to collect atmospheric pressure or had a camera on it, and so it didn't spy and didn't collect any information. It was a fucking balloon that accidentally blew from China to the U.S. from the Gulf Stream. China maintained the balloon was merely a harmless, unmanned civilian vehicle. So they're bringing up this dumb spy balloon because dumb idiots believe that it was some sort of super spy project, when in reality, it didn't do shit. It wasn't a spy balloon.
Officials faced criticism over their handling
Jesus
of the
Christ,
event.
the misinformation is insane.
At the time, the U.S. and China were in the midst of a technological trade war. The U.S. had placed restrictions on American-made chips and equipment exports to China over concerns Beijing...
Again, that's not true. What Biden did, if you want to remember... My God, why is everything this report says fucking not true? America launched a one-sided attack on China that included threatening any American who helped China develop chips with a loss of their citizenship. Completely unprovoked. The United States declared, hey, if you are a chip engineer and you help China build any factories for microchips, you will lose your citizenship. Like, this is, like, look at this shit. Hold on.
Beijing was misusing the technology to produce advanced military systems. In response, Beijing restricted exporting it.
What the Biden administration clamps down on China's access to chip technology. The White House has issued sweeping restrictions on selling semiconductors and chip-making equipment to China in an attempt to curb the country's access to critical technologies. Okay, hold on. This article doesn't... What the fuck? Here it is. Ban on U.S. talent at China chip firms thwarts Xi's key ambition, which it did not do. Biden attempts to contain China's chip manufacturing failed. Biden issues new rules to cut off microchip supply to China. Everything is paywalled now. You just have to trust my memory. Why Biden's chip policy is backfiring, by the way. For all the anxiety in the West about our dependence on Chinese manufacturing, you'd think we would appreciate when China is dependent on us for key components, but the Biden administration decided to give away one of our biggest advantages, the dominance of American companies in microchips. Biden's industrial policy put chip making front and center, dumping $50 billion on building new fabrication plants in the U.S. and imposing strict export controls that have cut China off from most of the world's supply. Protectionists and dark-branded memers may rejoice, but all this has done is push the Chinese Communist Party to make its own $48 billion investment in chip making. As The Economist reports, China's investments account for more than half of all planned expansion of the world's chip manufacturing, and bosses of Western chip firms privately grumble that the coming glut of Chinese semiconductors will put downward pressure on prices both in China and elsewhere. I can't wait to buy a Chinese GPU and Chinese CPU. Please, China, please. Please. What'll end up happening is the US will like force Windows and Apple to like not allow their operating systems to work on Chinese manufactured goods.
Its most dominant area of the semiconductor supply chain, raw materials.
China has tremendous leverage over the world when it comes to these critical minerals, rare earths.
According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, around a dozen minerals can be used to create a semiconductor. Two of the most commonly used are gallium and germanium. They lack good substitutes, and China controls production for both elements, accounting for 98% of the world's refined gallium and 68% of the germanium production. The U.S. produces less than 2% of refined germanium and no gallium. You see China as a substantial threat long term.
Absolutely, on their monopoly on rare earths and critical minerals, their monopoly on key starting materials.
I can't believe people think Ro Khanna is anywhere near AOC because he went on Breaking Points a couple times. It's so fucking embarrassing that I have to have that I exist in a political communication space with people this dumb. This is my left, dog. This is my left. They hate the one woman who's actually going to win, who's actually left wing, and they try to push her right every day by insulting her like an insane freak over shit she doesn't even support. And then they cuddle up to Ro Khanna and John Ossoff, who are Zionist supporting fucking warmongers. God damn it. Jesus Christ, we're so fucking cooked.
Need independence when it comes to rare earths and critical minerals with us and our allies.
The restrictions eventually became an outright ban, leading to shortages, which forced importers to route shipments through third countries. Prices for gallium rose 100%, and germanium spiked as much as 400% before China suspended its ban in 2025. The U.S. loosened its chip ban in January, allowing exports of some chips, including NVIDIA's. Some experts say the ban ultimately made China more self-sufficient.
I don't think we should weaponize either chips or rare earths. We should really find a way to work together. So that shows that we are actually in a so intertwined world. We can't separate with each other. I think that's the message now Trump is sending as well. This is very, very important.
U.S. officials are concerned about private companies in China, which are required to establish a CCP branch within them. Chinese laws also note that companies must support and cooperate with China's intelligence gathering authorities. How closely aligned is the Chinese government with Chinese private companies?
Yeah, China runs a unitary state. It's not like us, where we have companies that can defy the president of the United States if they so choose. In China, that's not possible because Xi Jinping believes that he must have absolute control over the Communist Party, and the Communist Party has absolute control over everything in society. So private companies really have to toe the line.
The U.S. has effectively banned Chinese companies from operating inside the U.S. In 2018, the Trump administration began placing restrictions on one of China's 5G network providers, Huawei, over concerns it was helping the CCP commit cyber espionage.
We find a tremendous security problem with respect to Huawei.
More recently, the U.S. took action against a popular social media app.
I'm going to save TikTok.
President Trump eventually did save TikTok and allowed U.S. companies to negotiate a purchase agreement with its parent company, ByteDance.
TikTok is back.
I think there are structural differences between China and the U.S. And then there are different perceptions, different way of life, different tradition, culture, history, quite different sometimes. But however, that difference should not preventing us from communicating, preventing us from really working together.
When we come back, we'll hear from our panelists back in the U.S. about what to expect during the next couple of days here in Beijing, and, of course, the other news of the day. But first, Big Brother is watching. There are literally cameras everywhere in Beijing. We are outside the Haidian station, and I can count at least 20 on this corner. In fact, in Beijing, they've added 1,500 cameras just this year alone. They see everything.
That's it? It's a gigantic city of 20 million people. What the fuck are you saying? It's one of the world's biggest cities. 1,500 cameras? That's nothing. Are you stupid?
There's nobody jaywalking here because they could get a ticket right away.
Good! Jaywalking leads to crashes and people dying. What the fuck are you saying? But luckily for them, they have fucking city bikes everywhere. They've got really good public transit. They have all sorts of taxi services as well, so people can get around by walking, biking, or riding. They don't have to use cars.
In fact,
look at how many people are walking around. First of all, just look at this space. Look at the space that he's in. Look at the space he's occupying. City bikes right next to him. Green space. immaculately maintained pedestrian walkway, green landscaping, tree cover for shade for pedestrians, and a quiet street with low traffic. And then dense housing. Plus, there's also people nearby. That's what we call a functional society. Holy fuck. Do you see garbage? Do you see damaged or upturned sidewalks? Do you see pollution? Do you see homeless people? It's almost as if everything is functioning. Wow.
Our driver parked illegally for 2 minutes, and he got a message on his phone that he got a ticket for about 40 bucks US because they saw it on the camera. Now, there are real questions what the CCP's goal is about citizen tracking and social scoring. They say it's to make everybody feel safe. These cameras are watching every minute. They're everywhere. And while they're watching up,
this yellow strip, in case you're wanting to know, this yellow strip, what this is a disability accommodation so that blind people will have a what is this? What's it called? It's like basically they could feel the ridges of this yellow strip so they know it's safe to walk. It's a disability accommodation. Tactile pathway. Yeah.
Us here in China, we hope you continue to watch. Special report from Beijing continues after this. In Beijing, inside is a Galbot robot, the dominance of AI. Beijing is trying to lead the way.
I appreciate China's achievements, but isn't it a bit odd for a streamer to praise a country where he would be in prison? What do you mean? My videos go viral on China all the time. What are you talking about? I go viral in China in fact, I get more views on a lot of my videos in China than I do in the fucking US YouTube. The fuck are you saying?
In AI and also in humanoid robots. Let's go inside. This is the first of its kind for this kind of interaction. If you want to order something.
Meanwhile, we're watching Fox News, Republican propaganda broadcasting from China as we speak.
Hello, can I get a sausage, please?
Okay. 烤肠, 8.8 yuan.
This is the first of its kind, moving a little slow, but Galbot is actually in 50 different pharmacies, warehouses, handling 300,000 orders around the country. This is the first of its kind here, and they say there are going to be many different iterations. The question is, it's the same thing that the U.S. is dealing with. Will this replace human workers?
So
pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, this is an area where.
First of all, I'll just say this. I actually think that is not the place where workers are going to be replaced. I actually think cashiers are incredibly. They make stores more pleasant. Human workers make stores more pleasant and bars more pleasant. I don't think and waiters are the same thing. I don't think that's actually going to fully be replaced. We are social animals, and we like hanging around other people. You know, like in marginal places, I could see that happening, but I don't know. It also makes us more antisocial when we're just surrounded by fucking robots.
They're decidedly ahead of us on the humanoid robot front, and my understanding.
Extrovert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert at all. I'm just somebody who's broken my brain. I was an introvert that was traumatized so many times that it doesn't even I don't even have the anxiety anymore because it's been cauterized out of my brain. But I don't like it. I'm not like yay, but it doesn't bother me. Those are different things. That's a different thing. Like the best way I've heard it described is an extrovert is somebody who socializing gives them energy, and an introvert is somebody for whom socializing tires them out. And I am definitely in the latter camp. I'm not like, oh, yay, let's go out and hang out with people. I'm going to feel so much more energized. No, I'm going to be like, all right, let's hang out. And then I'm going to be like, at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I think I like people, but I'm good now. Time for the couch. I like socializing. I like hanging out with people, but you know, it's an exertion. Speaking of exertions, this is a side mission I'm going to start right now because it made me laugh. The guy who was crying about Hasan making fun of his picture is now defending Destiny, attempting to send revenge porn to a minor in my mentions. So Office Nasty 70 said he shared revenge porn with an account that the minor had routine access to and was seeing the porn. So no, please provide link proof of your claim now. Destiny wasn't sharing the porn with a minor, yes? Question mark. And I said, he intended to share the porn with a minor. Factual impossibility is irrelevant and not a defense in the law. This is actually something that all of you should know, and I'm happy to teach you. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you wanted to kill Joe Biden, right? And so you got a gun and you went to Joe Biden's house, hypothetically. I'm not saying that you would want to do this, okay? And then I'm not recommending it. And then you go into his bedroom and you shoot him a bunch of times, right? And then you run away and leave. But it turns out that Biden was so old and decrepit that he died from natural causes during the course of the night. He was already dead when you broke into his house and attempted to kill him. You are still liable for attempted murder. You are. Because just because he was dead, you carried through the attempt, right? And just because there's a factual impossibility that you could kill him because he was already dead, you're still guilty of attempt. Does that make sense? Because you had the depraved heart, you took the substantial step, etc. You had the mens rea, you took the overt act. There you go. You violated, you attempted to kill the person, right? It's the same thing if I take a gun that has blanks in it and I think it's a real gun, and so I bust into a bank and I start pointing the gun at people. I'm still doing a robbery, even though the gun isn't a real gun. It's like Christmas or murder. It's the thought that counts. Exactly. If you rob a bank vault that's empty, it's still a crime. Exactly. If you break into a house, to steal something, even if you just put one finger inside the window and then you turn around and you leave, you committed a burglary because you broke and entered a house at night with an intent to commit a felony therein. You have committed a burglary. Okay? Anyway, moving on. So what I'm trying to say is the idea of like, oh, he was trying to send revenge porn to a minor, but it turns out it was her boyfriend and not her. He was still attempting to send fucking revenge porn to a minor. Just because there was a catfisher in between doesn't mean he wasn't committing fucking sex crimes, dummy. He intended for share porn with someone who he believed wasn't a minor. He shared the porn with someone who wasn't a minor, but who was using a minor's pics to catfish him. No need to lie. Bro, if somebody's sending you minor as child pornography to catfish you, you're a criminal! You're a fucking criminal! And so I just described what actually happened, which was he suspected she was a minor and later learned she was. He kept pornography produced when she was a minor on his computer willingly and had attempted to exchange revenge porn with her. He ended up exchanging it with her boyfriend, who showed her it anyway. So the act was completed. So this guy is like, oh man, I hate Hasan. He really likes Medicare for all and hates the Gaza genocide. But now he's spending his life defending Destiny's sex crimes, for which he's currently being sued. Can you imagine if this story happened, if Hasan or I did something like this? Can you imagine if we were sending revenge porn to an underage person that we... can you imagine? We would literally be under the prison right now. And these people defend it. They defend it. These are your centrist Democrats, guys. These are your centrist Destiny supporting Democrats. If you have any thoughts that you would like to share with the guy, he then came in my mentions more. Attempted. Mike, can you tell me what you mean by attempted? That word made zero sense to have in the sentence. He believed he was sending revenge porn to Rose, who at the time was a minor. That revenge porn was ultimately shown to Rose according to her sworn deposition testimony in the lawsuit he's facing. Was Destiny told by the person who was pretending to be Rose that she was a minor? The fact that you're trying to make this about her age and are completely missing the revenge porn bit is sending me. Yes, because he's a multiple criminal. He was sending revenge porn, crime, to a minor, crime. And receiving porn of a minor, crime. There are 3 separate crimes. Jesus Christ. And they're like, well, he's actually not technically guilty of sending the porn to a minor. And it's like, you're ignoring, even if that were true, which it's not, he was trying to. He's committed 2 other crimes. Like if I get charged with 3 crimes and you only convict me of 2, I'm still a criminal. Do you understand? Jesus Christ. Dude, just stop. LOL. I want to thank Nathan for coming into my mentions and proving me right. Holy shit. Thank you so much. This guy's my new favorite lolcow. Holy shit. This guy's my new favorite lolcow. Holy shit. This guy is defending sending revenge porn to minors. Oh my God. This guy right here. Holy shit. Lock him up. Why is she so far? I was scared as hell to get too close. Scared to interact normally in person. Not scared to come in Mike from PA's mentions to defend child pornography exchange. I legitimately, I want to thank this guy because he helped me create the best anti-Destiny propaganda. Holy shit. Thank you, you dumb fuck. Holy shit. You allowed me to spread this more. Because Destiny had largely allowed it to it got buried because Destiny has so many allies in the centrist commentary community, or at least people that are intimidated. Holy shit. Attempted. Mike, can you tell me what you mean by attempted? I explain it. What was his reply again? Was Destiny told by the person who was pretending to be Rose that she was a minor? Again, guys, this is a very important post. If you have a Twitter, this is a post that you should like, comment, and subscribe. Retweet, interact, reply. This is an important one. We got to get this in front of as many people as possible. But he escaped the Hasan cult. I you know, say what you will about Hasan. The Hasan cult is, and exactly. I'm really important is the one that supports him. Oh, I'm really important. God, that guy is such a sycophantic worm. He tried to kiss my ass. So he got invited to I went to the Bernie rally when Bernie and AOC did the oligarchy rally in LA. And he tried to kiss my ass in front of a bunch of influencers. And I just made fun of him and called him a Destiny orbiter. And everybody was like, ooh. And he had to walk away. He doesn't matter. He's fucking irrelevant. He's fucking irrelevant. They're trying so hard to turn him into somebody that nobody watches, so it's not gonna work. Don't call it CP, call it child sex abuse material. So true. I mean, I use both. I say child porn and CSAM, but you're right that it's not really pornography. It is abuse, but it is evidence of a crime.
We just got some specifics on how this bilateral meeting went with this White House readout. So let's lean into what the White House is saying. It reads in part, President Xi also made clear China's opposition to the militarization of the strait and any effort to charge a toll for its use. And he expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the strait in the future. Both countries agreed that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So some notable points there, especially when it comes to the purchase of oil and the agreement that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So what is your read on that?
China is feeling the pressure. And big picture, what a turnabout from a year ago where China was threatening critical minerals license exports. Now we've got the U.S. Navy in the Strait of Hormuz, Venezuela out of the picture, and Trump having arrived with an incredible display of American tech power. Keyword there, I think, China agreeing that Iran should not have a toll booth in the strait. Now, are they going to do anything concrete to help? I doubt it. But it looks like Trump has put some pressure on China vis-a-vis Iran. Don't forget, China supported Iran's terror regime with oil purchases for so long. I'm glad to see that perhaps turning around.
Yeah, and when it comes to China and Iran, there's a piece in the Washington Post. It's titled, China Gains Major Edge on U.S. Amid Iran War. Intelligence report finds. It goes on to say, since the U.S. and Israel initiated the Iran war, China has sold weapons to Persian Gulf allies of the U.S. as they struggle to defend their military bases and oil infrastructure from Iranian missile and drone attacks. Beijing has also assisted countries around the world struggling to meet their energy needs after the U.S.-Israeli attacks prompted Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz, a corridor for the transport of 1/5 of the world's oil and gas. So what this piece is saying is that there was this intel report that found that China is actually trying to gain from the war in Iran and make friends globally because of it. What's your reaction to that?
Oh, China is always trying to get an advantage, but the Post report is flat out wrong. I think that everything in Operation Epic Fury has shown, in fact, that the U.S. has an incredible military edge, one that China is not going to approach anytime soon, despite their formidable capabilities. I think the reality in Beijing is a very cold assessment of the prowess of the U.S. military doing things that Beijing...
The prowess of the U.S. military, which is can't open the Strait of Hormuz, can't do regime change after spending, $100 billion at all of our most expensive weapons.
frankly, cannot do. Now, they always maintain their interests around the world, but we've seen that the Russian-based...
Yes, they don't waste hundreds of billions of dollars on aircraft carriers that are floating coffins. And by the way, they have the most advanced amphibious assault ship in the world already. The Chinese already have surpassed the U.S. in a major capital ship category, which is a light aircraft carrier amphibious assault ship. They already have the most advanced one. They're already ahead of us. They have better destroyers. They're able to produce them, or they have at least on par with the Arleigh Burke or whatever they're called. Like, the Chinese are literally hitting us bar for bar. I don't know what the fuck she's even talking about.
Types of air defenses and China's anti-ship missiles really have not been as effective as they've been made out to be. So I say U.S. military operations around Iran, that adds up to a big signal that China should be pretty worried about their own military capability.
Okay, let's talk about Taiwan, Dr. Grant, because it comes with a hostile, even a bit of a threatening tone when it comes to the messaging out of China this morning. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson posted on X that President Xi stressed to President Trump that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations, and if handled properly, the bilateral relationship will enjoy overall stability. This is the key point here. Otherwise, the two countries will have clashes and even conflict, putting the entire relationship in jeopardy. And of course, this is as the Trump administration has approved this $14 billion weapons package to Taiwan, but has yet to fulfill that package. So how does the president respond to this? What does he do when it comes to the issue of Taiwan?
The Chinese diplomats always bring up Taiwan, but what I like, Carly, is I don't see any hesitation from the U.S. side. We're not falling for that. We are going to continue to support Taiwan with arms sales. We need to speed them up, but I think our security guarantees there are pretty strong. We're going to stay on the somewhat ambiguous policy that we've had for quite...
Did they just do a major podcast on Hasan? How did Fox do? Oh my God, never mind.
Quite a long
I'm sorry.
time. And I think basically President Trump is standing firm behind Taiwan. He does not want to see Chinese aggression there or in the South China Seas or elsewhere around the world.
National security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant, we thank you so much for your time this morning.
I guess they've decided that Hasan is like, he's the winner as far as the fight with Fox News, huh? By the way, chat, there was a new poll out of Michigan. New poll out of Michigan just dropped showing that Abdul El Sayed is the best candidate. General election poll, Mike Rogers 42, Abdul El Sayed 41, Mike Rogers 43, Mallory McMorrow 41, Mike Rogers 42, Hallie Stevens 39. So right now, Abdul El Sayed is the best general election candidate according to the most recent poll published today. Abdul has coasted to the lead. Sunshine and rainbows in New York City. Durham Donnie has turned toxic for the 50 public schools and the car-free soccer streets. Yeah. He just keeps winning, folks. Look at how Donald Trump has been completely owned.
The issue, and you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a
Mitch voter is warming on Abdul, but he's blocked all the big pro-Abdul accounts. What do you mean he's warming on Abdul?
discussion was that today?
We discussed it. I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, you know, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that.
The issue, and you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
We discussed it. I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly. But at the same time, he said, you know, they buy a lot of their oil there, and they'd like to keep doing that.
The issue, and you've been asked about it, and you've spoken about it, and that is China's support of Iran. How big a discussion was that today?
God, like, China absolutely gets to do whatever it wants. Trump has no leverage over China at all. That's crazy.
President Trump and China's President Xi are attending a state banquet in Beijing after the first day of their bilateral talks. Now, a White House official described it as a good meeting and said the two discussed Iran, trade, and energy. But beyond the pomp and circumstance, tensions are growing over Taiwan. Chinese state media reporting that Xi warned Trump that Taiwan, the democratic self-governing island that Beijing views as part of its territory, is, quote, the most important issue in China-U.S. relations and could create a very dangerous situation if mishandled. Some observers viewing that as a threat. CNN's Will Ripley is live this morning in Taipei, Taiwan. It seems like this island, with China has threatened to take by force, is really emerging for China as a key issue here of the summit. Meanwhile, it's sort of the tale of two straits. Meanwhile, you've got the Strait of Hormuz also lingering there, with the president wanting China to help get that open.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Sarah, because the officials here in Taipei were sort of expecting this kind of language from Xi Jinping. It didn't come as a surprise that it was the first thing that Chinese state media reported, this comment basically saying that if the U.S. and China mishandled the issue of Taiwan, it could lead to a military conflict. We've heard that sort of thing from Beijing repeatedly over the years. It is noteworthy, but not surprising, that that was the first line of information that they chose to leak to the Xinhua news agency. I want to read you a little bit more of the quote that was reported by Chinese state media from Xi Jinping. He said, quote, Taiwan independence and cross-strait peace are as irreconcilable as fire and water. Safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is the biggest common denominator between China and the U.S. And because they were expecting that kind of language here in Taipei, there was a response very quickly from the Taiwan cabinet spokesperson, Michelle Lee. I'll read you that as well, Sarah. It said, China's military threat is the sole source of insecurity in the Taiwan Strait and the broader Indo-Pacific region. Continuous enhancement of defense and effective joint deterrence are the most critical factors to ensuring regional security. The reason why they talked about enhancement of defense is because one big concern they have here in Taipei is that behind closed doors, Xi Jinping could ask President Trump to either delay or stall or flat out deny a $14 billion arms sales package that Taiwan's parliament has approved.
Honestly, the only thing Trump has for leverage with China is that China understands that Trump is unhinged and potentially a huge liability as far as dragging people to global conflicts. China really wants to be the stable peace player at the moment, but that's not really leverage over them, right? Because Donald Trump acting more insane is just going to alienate more people from the U.S. It's not going to make people go like, and that's why we have to fight China more. They're going to be like, okay, the U.S. is crazy and we can't control them. Maybe we need to form alternative organizations that don't rely on U.S. stability, which I think that's the conclusion that's pretty much happened.
But it has yet to be approved by President Trump in Washington. It's still in limbo. That would be a major setback for Taiwan if President Trump didn't approve that package quickly, because it would basically indicate that he's willing to negotiate Taiwan's security in exchange for some sort of grand bargain. That was, of course, the big concern that Taiwanese officials expressed in the days and weeks leading up to this meeting. We heard from the Taiwan foreign minister, who said that he hoped the summit would bring no surprises. The deputy foreign minister said he was afraid that Taiwan could be on the menu. So even though they knew here in Taipei that Xi was going to press this claim that Beijing has had for 75 years that Taiwan belongs to China, even though Taiwan has had its own government and its own military the entire time, and also, by the way, happens to have the production of all of the world's, nearly all of the world's most advanced chips that are crucial to the United States' deep investment in AI. Without Taiwan, the entire tech economy would essentially collapse if the supply chain were disrupted. So Taiwan knows that they have that leverage. They're hoping that President Trump keeps that in mind when he's in talks with Xi Jinping and doesn't send the message that Taiwan's security is up for negotiation.
Redeem yourself.
While President Trump praised President Xi, the Chinese president warned President Trump today that the U.S. and China could clash over Taiwan if the issue wasn't handled properly. Are both leaders further apart on the issues that Trump would like to acknowledge?
Certainly on that one, Wolf, there's no question, at least historically on the U.S. posture, we have not heard President Trump say much about what he thinks of what.
It's part of China. That's really the take on Taiwan. And it's a position that the United States of America agrees with, the European Union agrees with. Now, obviously, I would like to see Taiwan issue resolved in the same way like the Hong Kong issue was resolved. Having their own system maintained, but they're having autonomy, but being integrated back into China and diffusing the idea of Taiwan being used to blockade China or being a launching point for an American invasion of China or any of the other things that have led to extreme brinkmanship and the threat of war. Now, I don't want Taiwan to be subjugated by force. I think that would be insane. But I think a long-term, gradual increase of integration that respects Taiwanese people's, autonomy would be a good idea. But ultimately, I'm just some guy in America. It's not really my business. Taiwan is, and always has been, going back hundreds of years, part of China. So trying to cleave it off to do some sort of separatism would only be for the purpose of using Taiwan for attacking China. And that's not our business.
What could happen with China and Taiwan and the U.S.'s role going forward. And so it's interesting that President Xi, made this quite clear at the outset, the prospect of a clash of China taking over Taiwan or attempting to take over Taiwan. And then what does the U.S. do? And it has all kinds of implications in terms of semiconductors, in terms of chips manufacturing and so forth, that we don't quite know what this looks like in a Trump 2.0. I will be interested to see if President Trump discusses much of what he actually thinks on that front publicly. As much as President Trump often seems unable to help himself from blurting certain things out, there are areas where he tends to keep his own views a little more closely held, and I suspect this is going to be one of them, but we'll see.
With us now is Congressman Mark Alford, a Republican from Missouri. Congressman, always great to see you. Let me read you part of that statement from China again. Quote, if it is not handled properly, and this is, he's talking about the Taiwan issue here. If it is not handled properly, the two countries may clash or even come into conflict, pushing the entire China-U.S. relationship into a very dangerous situation. So some see that as a warning or a threat from President Xi. You care deeply about Taiwan. You have been there, traveling there in the last couple of years. What do you think the clear U.S. statement on Taiwan should be?
Well, John, thanks for having me on. Look, we have had since 1979 the Taiwan Relations Act from Congress, a policy of strategic ambiguity. We're not saying they're an independent nation, but we're not saying they're part of China either. We don't have an embassy there. We have an American Institute of Taiwan. I've been there. It's a very beautiful facility. But Taiwan is important to us. It's important for their chip manufacturing, for drone capabilities. Our partnership with Taiwan is important, but also our partnership, a burgeoning partnership, it looks like, between Trump and Xi and this new era that Xi has described is also important. We've got to make sure that trade continues. We've got to make sure that we are able to export.
Not even Republican representatives, hawkish Republican representatives, will say that Taiwan is an independent nation. That's amazing.
Our Missouri soybeans and pork to China, and Taiwan also, of course, is buying some of those as well. It is a delicate tap dance at this point, but look, in the appropriations process. Excuse me. In the appropriations process, just 2 weeks ago, under the full committee for appropriations, we appropriated $500 million for Taiwan in foreign military financing. That is up from $300 million just 1 year ago. So I think we're sending a signal to Taiwan that we value them, but we also value President Trump's initiative to better relations with China.
Would you want those better relations to come at the expense of any reduced arms sales to Taiwan?
No. Taiwan needs to be ready for what could happen. And under our strategic ambiguity, the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, we have committed to not necessarily aid in their self-defense, but give them what they need to defend against any aggression from China. And that's very important that we live up to that.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator Chris Coons from Delaware. He sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Thanks for being here, Senator. I appreciate it. Xi Jinping saying this about Taiwan, according to state media: the Taiwan issue is the most important issue in China-U.S. relations, and also saying if mishandled, the two nations will experience collision or even clashes, pushing the entire China-U.S. relationship into a highly dangerous situation. Do you see that as a threat from Iran?
Absolutely, Kate. That's a threat from Xi Jinping.
And our challenge.
Jesus fucking Christ. Can we have 5 minutes without a Democrat being a fucking warmonger? Can we go 5 minutes with the Democrats not sounding like more of a warmonger than the Republicans? 5 fucking minutes.
Challenge is that we have a distracted president and a distracted Secretary of Defense. I'm the senior Democrat on defense appropriations. And when we had Secretary Hegseth in front of our subcommittee this week, I really pressed him on what's the plan to end this war in Iran and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians have just made a next strategic step, which is allowing Chinese supertankers full of oil to cross the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, 2,000 other ships critical for fertilizer, for fuel, for gas are still stuck because Iran has the ability to hit them at any time with cheap and lethal drones. So Xi, in some way metaphorically, has us over a barrel. And Trump has gone into these negotiations in the weakest position of any modern president because he promised to lower our costs when he ran for president. Instead, the price of gas is going up, the price of groceries is going up, inflation is going up, and China has been increasingly aggressive in the last year, Kate, around the Strait of Taiwan, transiting all of Australia with a naval flotilla for the first time, crossing the midline on an almost daily basis, and threatening Taiwan with rehearsals of a military blockade or invasion. So this is a very tenuous moment, Kate, and I'm concerned that President Trump will make concessions. In exchange for a temporary benefit, like buying more soybeans, he will give up licensing our most advanced AI chips. The CEO of NVIDIA, the American company that makes the most advanced chips, joined this trip at the last minute. And I'm concerned that a chips for beans deal would actually be a strategic loss for the United States.
By the way, chat, more Destiny defenders have joined into my mentions defending Destiny for having child pornography on his computer. That's pretty insane. China, Democrats, do not engage in China hawkery. Please do not repeat your mistakes. The best only path forward is peaceful coexistence and cooperation. Exactly. Exactly. And not only that, like, cooperation means lifting unnecessary tariffs and sanctions on China and allowing them to sell products here. I want to be able to have a cheap solar farm that recharges my Chinese electric vehicle. I want to have my, you know what I mean? Like, that should not be a question. I'm allowed to buy Chinese crap for every other room in my house, except the one where it will actually make my life more secure. That's crazy. I just wanted to provide you guys with more evidence. This guy jumped into my replies and he said, "Don't give Mike any of your time. Dude is just a walking Hasan ambassador at this point. He's a clown who can only operate in bad faith and warping the truth. Even after all these lies were exposed, they just moved the goalpost wherever the last one was smashed." By the way, what is he talking about? Again, this is actually something that Destiny is very good at, which is he just says rhetoric like this that has no argument, but it's about establishing a vibe, right? There's no point here. He's not actually saying, I got disproved on this and this and this, therefore I am bad faith. He just advanced a conclusion, I am bad faith, and that they smashed the goalpost. But then you say, when did that happen? And there's never any evidence, right? So I finally got this guy to make an argument, which we're going to have a response for. Yes, let me recite the entire background lore of this lawsuit to help some random kid understand why Mike is betting the truth. Make it seem like Destiny is a pedophile. Go do some research on the facts. Guys, do your own research. Just do your own research. All the court files are public. Go read the court files. Do your own research by reading the court files. He's not going to make any arguments where he can be disproven. I said he specifically admitted to retaining CSAM of Rose on his computer. Again, little bends to the truth. He never once said he had CSAM. If you want to provide a screenshot of him saying he did, I'll wait. Last time I checked, he kept all messages he ever had with the victims because of his court case. Did he possess CSAM of Rose on his computer? Was she underage when it was made? We're not going to play follow the trail of questions, Mike. So, I did what I did. Here's a screenshot of Destiny admitting to having CSAM saved on his computer. Her boyfriend was recording those Skype calls. He just obviously insane to think about him doing all of this if she was 17. Keck W. If you're sending me this, I'm guessing you still have the video. Depends on why you're asking. I guess sweaty emoji. I'm not sure what this is. Keck W. But yes, I created a copy of all of our messages and everything when that court case started. Bro, there's been allegations since at least my last vid that she was underage. And you still have potential CP of her? I have an obligation to preserve relevant evidence, etc. So I created backups of all the important relevant conversation with her, Solo, Pixie, Straighter Raid, Aaron, etc. That's nuts, man. I don't think I'm allowed to delete it, LOL. I don't know if it counts as hiding, destroying evidence. So here is Destiny saying, can you imagine somebody is being sued for sharing revenge porn and they go, that's why I need to save this child pornography on my computer. Like, what the fuck is he saying? What the fuck is he saying? So here's the timeline of events. Destiny thought he was sending revenge porn, so that's a crime, to a person who was underage, and then he got child sex abuse material of that underage girl, and then he saves on his computer and he saves it. There's also allegations that he was sharing it with other people. Guys, this is a crime, all right? I don't know what else to say. Like, he is admitting to multiple crimes. You cannot possess this type of material. If you realized, oh, I'm inadvertently possessing this material and you destroy it, that makes a lot more sense than, well, I had to keep it on my computer in case I get sued for revenge porn that I sent about somebody else. That's a crime, bro. And so ultimately, I don't know what else. Again, little Ben's of the truth. He never once said he had CSAM. Yes, he did. He just did. There it is. He admitted to, he just said it would be insane. It would be insane. The gymnastics these dudes will go through to justify their Destiny cult membership is crazy. But it's important. Regular people will say that. The guy who was crying about Hasan making fun of his picture is now in my dimensions defending Destiny, attempting to send revenge porn to a minor. I mean, like, I don't know what else to say. It's in fact so crazy to the other person. They're saying that's nuts, man. Yeah, that was an orbiter of his. Destiny has clarified this numerous of times, and given how familiar you appear to be with the surrounding context, framing it this way seems reckless. No, this is what it's called truth, you fucking moron. I'm not doing spin for your pedophile. He intended to share the porn with a minor. This asserts a factual state tied to sexual... He tried to share the porn with a minor. It is a strict liability offense, which means the mens rea is the attempt to share the porn, okay? It's not... You don't have to have the mental idea of I'm sharing porn with a minor. You just have to try to share porn with a minor. The fact that you know or don't know they're a minor is irrelevant in the law. You fucking dummy. So yes, I said that. Liberal lawyer my ass. He suspected she was a minor and later learned she was. That's a factual claim, and if false, materially changes how people view the conduct. Then show me the evidence that it's false. Show me the evidence that it's false. I showed the evidence that he thought she was fairly legal, but it turned out that she wasn't legal. he thought at the very least, at the and the most favorable to him, he thought she was a teenager. He kept pornography willingly produced when she was a minor on his computer willingly. Yes. There's a huge difference between preserving disputed evidence on advice of counsel, which there's no evidence he did, you fucking dummy. And even counsel would say, hey, we'll preserve this stuff. You delete it off your computer, but we'll preserve it and hold it in an evidence storage facility, okay? We will hold it in a third party. It'll be a controlled access versus, oh, he has child porn on his computer. He's just saving it. That's not the same thing. You fucking Alan Dershowitz pedophile. Jesus Christ. Willingly keeping child porn is what he did. If the context was legal preservation, your framing is creating a criminal sexual implication the facts don't support. They absolutely do. Keep trying with your bait. Defamatory by implication. Sue me then. Attempted to exchange revenge porn with her. He did. He did. He's currently being sued. I believe Pixie. And she's suing. And he's admitting he didn't have consent to share it. I mean, whether or not he wins the civil case, it's my opinion that he's guilty. And the only thing that I'm saying, the facts are that he shared those videos, which to me, in my opinion, makes him guilty of revenge porn. The facts that I'm asserting, he shared the videos of Pixie without her consent, is stipulated facts. The only way it would be defamatory is if he didn't share those videos of her. So again, you don't even, like, this guy, like, these people are, what's, the AI, I'm a lawyer, guys. Fucking moron. He said as much, whether his lawyer manages to get him off on some technicality or not. I mean, you know, literally, it's funny because the more he boosts this shit, the more likely he gets prosecuted for it. Fight me on it. Eventually, there's going to be some bored DA that decides to prosecute you. All right, chat, let's move on. I've wanted to watch this video. Oh, first of all, Israel's popularity. Chat, we've got a new emote. Test it out.
Himself who has a major problem when it comes to public opinion in the United States. Look at this. Americans say they are not confident when it comes to Netanyahu and world affairs. Look at this. In 2023, the not confident percentage was 42. Up significantly, up like a rocket, up to 59%. That's a nearly 20-point movement in just 3 years' time, and now the majority of Americans say they are not confident when it comes to Bibi Netanyahu and world affairs. And we're not just talking Democrats here. We're talking the entire American public, nearly 3 in 5.
All right. Well, let's talk about the partisan breakdown here, because there are two interesting stories going on at the same time.
Yeah, there are two interesting stories. You might think that this might be a story of young Democrats moving significantly against Israel and moving against Bibi Netanyahu. But in fact, there is a twist to the numbers here. Yes, it is young Democrats, but it's actually older Democrats who are more likely to say that they're not confident when it comes to Bibi Netanyahu and world affairs. Look at this. Among Democrats under the age of 50, it's 73%. But look at this. Look among Democrats 50 years and older. It's actually larger. It's 81%. And both of these numbers are up significantly from where they were in 2023. But it's actually older Democrats leading the charge, many of whom are not on social media.
Yeah, and again, just to point out here, this is not confident in
This
Benjamin
is not
Netanyahu.
confident. They are not confident in Bibi Netanyahu.
Hey, let's talk about Republicans, too, because it's interesting, sort of the dichotomy we see here.
Yeah, okay. So, I said you might have expected younger Democrats to be leading the charge and not being confident in Bibi Netanyahu, but in fact, it was older Democrats. But look at the reverse here. Look among Republicans, because here there is a massive age split. And look at this. Republicans who are not confident in Bibi Netanyahu. Look at this. Younger Republicans, nearly 3 in 5. We're talking 58% compared to 30% of Republicans who are 50 and older. This, to me, is so fascinating because there is a massive age split within the Republican Party when it comes to Bibi Netanyahu and when it comes, of course, to Israel as well. And this, to me, is going to be very interesting in the years to come, especially as we enter the 2028 primary season, where we're seeing this massive split within the Republican Party on Israel. And is there going to be a candidate who comes out here and says, maybe we want to do a split and tries to appeal to younger Republicans?
It really is interesting to see a majority of younger Republicans saying they're not confident in Netanyahu.
Exactly, and double the percentage for older Republicans.
So with a poll showing the president facing 70% disapproval on the economy, surely that same poll would show Democrats with a big advantage in the race for Congress.
You would think, but I think this poll serves as a big-time reality check for Democrats, and that is, it ain't over yet, especially with the redistricting when we look ahead to the 2026 race for Congress. You would have thought that the Democrats' lead would expand on the generic congressional ballot. It didn't happen. Look, in March, Democrats were up by 6.
I will say this. Donald Trump's approval is very low. And these midterms, I think that the approval of the Democratic Party is extremely low. But the midterms are going to be an example of, they're going to be a situation where double haters vote for the Democratic candidate to put a check on Trump. That's what I think is going to happen. And I'm fairly confident of that.
Points. Look at this now. Democrats are up by 3 points, and I want you to note the yellow lettering. No clear leader. It is within the margin of error. So despite all of the talk about Donald Trump's unpopularity, the fact is Republicans very much remain in the game when it comes to the congressional midterms, which are occurring in, 6 or 7 months at this point?
Yes, and don't call me Shirley. So a lead of 3 points in the generic ballot test here. Does that get the job done?
No, it might not actually get the job done. And I love any reference to Airplane, I will say, and Leslie Nielsen. Look at this. Okay, take a look here. Democrats in the National House vote margin. According to my estimate, what they need for control with redistricting in terms of the national popular vote is somewhere of a win between 3 and 4 points. What's CNN's current poll with no clear leader? It's a 3-point advantage. If this were, in fact, the actual result come Election Day, the race for Congress, the race for the House, would be basically a toss-up. And that is why the redistricting efforts that have been happening are so important. Because before the redistricting happened, Democrats essentially just needed to win the National House popular vote in order to win control of the House of Representatives. But now, with the redistricting, their ladder, they have to climb ever higher, and a 3-point win may very well not do it. This is well within the realm of possibilities. Could be Democrats take back the House. If Democrats outperform the CNN poll by a few points, they take it back. but they could underperform as well.
I generally think that this is a time where my analysis is going to give you a lot more utility than CNN. Donald Trump is profoundly unpopular, but so is the Democratic Party, right? However, there's a lot of really exciting populist Democrats that are rising in the national consciousness, whether it's Abdul al-Sayed, whether it's Graham Plattner, whether it is, Claire Valdez in New York, who we had on stream yesterday. Did you guys like Claire, or what did you guys think of Claire? Did you have fun? Did you, I'm sorry, but she had the funniest thing happen. When Rabbit or Bunny, her cat, had a dingleberry, that was the funniest shit I've ever seen. I'm sorry, Bunny's dingleberry. I'm sorry. That is an all-time Mike clip. Like, what? Come on, man. How does that happen? And I liked her politics, and I think she really enjoyed the stream, so that's good. She's awesome. I donated 100. I hope she wins. Of all the people I've brought on my stream, Claire is the most likely person to be elected. And I think Claire is going to be the most left-wing member of Congress. Maybe, maybe she'll get outflanked by Rashida or Summer Lee from time to time. I hope not. But it's nice having somebody who is definitely going to win. So it was really exciting. What did we raise for her? We raised for her $14,160.79. So you didn't quite get there to make me have to give her $1,000. So this is a good place to stop. I said that for every $5,000 after 10,000, I will donate 500. So right now I only owe 500. So that's a good place to stop. We could stop right here. We don't need to donate anymore. Obviously, good job. They're happy with it. 500 is good. That's a good place. And by the way, that just reminds me, we're 4 hours into the stream and I forgot to chill. You motherfuckers, I haven't chilled for like 3 fucking days. You know what my reward is? We lost 500 subs. I don't chill, and here we are down at 6,000 subs. What the fuck, man? If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting it by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. So please consider supporting the stream, especially if you're not an American. Consider supporting the stream by gifting subs or bits. If you have Twitch Prime, you can attach that to your, if you have Amazon Prime, or somebody who does, you could attach your Amazon account to your Twitch account and you get 1 free sub a month. That's taking, oh my God, a treasure train! Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a treasure train. For a limited time, you get a 35% discount on your gifted subs. If you gift 5 subs or more, remember the treasure train also applies for tier 2s and tier 3s. So you could gift tier 3 subs at a 35% discount. Don't forget, you could upgrade your gifted subs. Just saying. I stay sub, big dog, but what was that? But unfortunately, gas is $35 a gallon and a pound of chicken costs as much as a TV. I totally understand. I don't want anybody to imperil their economic position by, giving me money. Obviously, you got to take care of yourself and your loved ones and those around you. And obviously, I want you to, use your money wisely, obviously. That being said, we've got a treasure train. We have an opportunity to get a lot of subs in this community. Oh, by the way, chat. If we hit level 15 on the treasure train, I will leak you the next emote. I am developing a new emote. Vio and I are developing a joint emote. I am developing a Styx-related emote, and Vio is developing a General Shermy-related emote. I need to have my own General Sherman emote, by the way, as well. So the kitties are getting love. We're going to add more kitty-related content. I want a Styx Romeo joint art piece. That would be really cool for merch and shit. I'm down bad in these dope emotes. Also, chat, remember, top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the Hype Dre conductor badge next to their name, which is a golden locomotive. So right now, Universal Power user has the gift sub on lock, but nobody is cheered. So for as little as 200 bits, you can get that golden locomotive next to your name that becomes a purple locomotive you get to keep permanently. Okay, the emotes are sick. To be honest, I get why he wants to leak. I'm just trying to get people to subscribe to the channel. I'm a graphic designer / illustrator. I'd happy to get involved in any stream related art. I so need to like get my shit together and do the merch. I have literally been thinking about doing merch for like 18 months and I just haven't done it. And there's really no excuse, right? Like there's really no excuse. I wanted to come up with a few pieces. One was going to be like a piece that was like a oh, never mind. Maybe I shouldn't tell you because it'll give my brain dopamine like I'm actually doing the work. I don't think my brain deserves the dopamine. Until I actually do it, I don't feel like I deserve the dopamine. I'm going to do it for you, to be honest. You should. That would be great. That would be awesome. Do it for me. Oh, chat, we are dangerously close to level 15. All right, let's keep watching this video.
And that would be big time trouble. As I said at the start here, this game is most certainly not over. Republicans very much in.
Mike, are you scared of Kamala trying to screw over AOC? If Kamala Harris enters the race, that'll only help AOC because there's no way that Kamala Harris could credibly take the left flank. And she'll be taking away support from Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom. And if anything, AOC will resolve as the kind of like, they'll be very bitter personal fights because they don't have anything to separate themselves on policy. So Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg will be attacking Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris will be attacking them on annoying id poll things. And the only person that Kamala Harris can't really attack on id poll is AOC. So AOC just hangs back and talks about issues, and Kamala and Newsom and Buttigieg are all yapping and stabbing at each other. I don't know. I think it's going to help. You know, but we'll see. We'll see if Ro Khanna tries to pull the Elizabeth Warren shit. Chat, donate and make Mike pay. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, chat. We're so close to level 15. Here's what I'll do, chat. I'll extend the Claire Valdez fundraiser till end of day Friday. Okay? Till end of day Friday. And whatever we get, then I'll determine what I'm going to support. Oh my God, thank you for the gift. You're welcome. Thank you, Harmonious Cacophony. Chat, you guys are doing it. You're over $14,000 of the fundraiser, and you're at level 94%. So I don't have to leak the new emote, and I only have to give 500 to Claire instead of 1,000. You guys are you're doing it perfectly. Oh, damn it. VG Hero. God damn it. All right, VO, what can I leak? That's it? That it's animated? It's an animated sticks emote, and it's very jiggly. Theo is making it for me with one of the best emo artists in the business, who made a number of our emotes, who was attacked by Rhizome for some reason. Feed Me, Don't Kill Me, creator of DSA Raid, and many other outstanding Mike emotes, like, for example, DSA FP, DSA 7, DSA Raid, DSA Ding. What else did he make? These are all outstanding Feed Me, Don't Kill Me emotes. I like DSA. I like Ding. I like DSA Ding. That's a good one. And DSA FP, obviously. 680 to go if you want to make Mike pay. Don't worry about it. We'll get it tomorrow, I'm sure. All right, let's keep going.
The race for the House of Representatives are in that game.
All right, and I was saying, you know, the president's approval on the economy. The president is just 30%, 70% disapproval. Those are, I think, the worst numbers he has ever had. But if his numbers are so bad, then why aren't Democrats benefiting?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Johnny B. Look, we talk about, you know, economic approval rating for the president. We talk about the net approval rating among registered voters. If we look among registered voters, the net approval rating, he's 36 points under. Where to go? There's no way Republicans could possibly hold on to the House. But look at this. Which party is trusted more in the economy? It's a tie among registered voters. Just because Donald Trump is unpopular doesn't make Democrats popular. And when you match Democrats against Republicans, all of a sudden it is a dead heat.
Oftentimes, Republicans enjoy an advantage on the economy, though, so tide may not be great for them, but still a huge disparity there between these two numbers. All right, we're talking about Democrats' chances, maybe not as big as they were a few weeks ago. You know, what are the chances? A few weeks ago, I think we were saying Republicans, they could get blown out.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's, I think, the other thing. Even if Republicans don't hold on to Congress, look, the chance of a blowout, that has shrunk considerably. Look at the cash prediction market. Chance that the GOP wins under 193 seats, you need 218 for control in the 2026 midterms. A month ago was a 48% chance they won under 193 seats. Now it's just 19%. So basically, Republicans have shifted the playing field. They're in the game, and the chance of a Democratic blowout, that is way, way down.
He's smiling, but it's not like a huge, huge grin. So why not? What are the prediction markets saying about Republican chances now?
I never know what Johnny's going to say. But look, I have the question here. Is it a redistricting nightmare for Democrats? No, but it's a bad dream that has become reality. And why is that? Because just take a look at the chance that Democrats have to take back the House, according to the Calsh prediction markets. The evening that Virginia redistricting amendment passed, they had an 86% chance of taking back the House. That has fallen significantly, but it is still a majority chance. Look, it's about a 3 and 4 shot, 76%. Sometimes when I look at it, 75, 74, but 76%. But either way you look at it, the chance that Democrats take back the House come November, it is very much down. They still have the majority chance to take it back. But you know what? 3 and 4 things are not guarantees.
Very much down, but still very big. And the reason it's still very big is how many seats do they need to gain?
Yeah, okay. So, you're talking about this, and you're talking about, okay, Democrats, have to win by a small margin number of seats. But that has become more difficult. Why is that? Because let's take a look at the national House vote margin. For control, under the current lines, the ones that were fought under in the 2024 election cycle, for example, they needed to win the national House vote by less than a point. They basically just needed to win the national House vote, and they'd win a majority. But look where it is now with redistricting. Now they have to win the national House vote by somewhere between 3 and 4 points, based, of course, upon what the rest of the redistricting cycle looks like. But either way you crack this nut, what you're essentially looking at is Democrats have to climb a higher hill, have to go higher up on the ladder in order to take back the House versus where they were, let's just say, a few weeks ago.
Okay, and where do things stand right now in the polling?
Yeah, okay, so you see this 3 to 4 points, right, that you have to win the national House vote by. Here's the good news for Democrats. The good news for Democrats is look at their current lead. Their current lead in the national House vote polls is 6 points. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that 6 points is higher than 3 to 4. Of course, this is not that big of a difference, right? And you would rather, if you were Democrats, have it to be 0, essentially, and then you'd have a really big margin here. But
what emote did you guys get? You got Winnie, huh? And Serval Bop? I got a turtle. Winnie, huh, is like the best emote I've ever seen Twitch have. Like, what the fuck? Since when did Twitch good at making emotes?
Bottom line is this. Their lead right now in the national House vote polls is higher than the margin that is necessary in order to take back the U.S. House of Representatives, even with redistricting.
All right, that's the good news for Democrats in this, but what's the bad news?
Okay, here's the bad news. You see what we're talking about here. 6 minus, 3 or 4 points, that's maybe 2 points, right? Or if I was actually drawing, and we could have our audience understand what I was saying, 2 points there. So, okay, 2 points. How big of a difference do we normally see from where the national House vote polls are at this point versus the final result? Well, average-wise, it's significantly wider than 2 points. It's 5 points this century of midterm cycles. So the idea that you have, the 2 points to spare, that is really not a lot at this point. So the bottom line is this with redistricting. It is Democrats are still the favorite to take back the U.S. House of Representatives, but their margin of error has shrunk significantly, and now Republicans have a real shot. So no, it's not a nightmare for Democrats, but it is a bad dream that has become reality, and now they'll have to climb that ladder ever higher like Mario in Super Mario World.
I will note this swing, and we were talking about this.
Mike, do you think the Democrats managed to breach the thresholds with their new maps in Florida, Texas actually end up costing them seats rather than gaining? No. Dummy manders are not real. I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but dummy manders are not real. The only time a dummy mander is a dummy mander is when the attempted gerrymander means that you lose more seats than you had before. That's not happening. Even in the most optimistic scenarios, the Democrats, for example, in Florida, they're only going to win like 8 or 9 seats, right? Which is exactly where they are now. So that's not a dummy mander. That is they didn't quite manage to steal as many seats as they hoped, right? Dummy manders they require swings that are so extreme that if that were to happen, we're winning like 55 Senate seats, okay? We're winning Ohio. We're winning Indiana. We're winning Iowa. We're winning Texas. Like that, in that world, the House is going to fall. So that being said, I do think that, for example, Oliver, that district that he's running in, is winnable. It's just going to be a very tough because I don't think the Republicans are going to let Oliver skate. they're going to spend a lot of money to make sure that that is on lock.
Historically, it swung both ways. It could be that the Democrats do.
Is Larkin still viable? Yes, but he went from like extremely viable to like now it's more of a lift, you know, and that sucks ass.
Better than they're showing right now, but we just don't know. The possibility is they could do much worse.
They could. They could win by 10 points going away, and then they win a clear majority, but maybe they only win by 1 or 2, and that, my friends, at this point, simply put, not enough, at least with the current lines as we think they're going to be heading into November with redistricting.
You know, China was a big part of the president's initial campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Being tough on China, a big part of the first administration. Kind of different now, but how have Americans' views of the president on China shifted?
You know, in term number 1, China was a strength for Donald Trump. Americans really liked what he was doing vis-a-vis China. And no longer is that the case, because just take a look at Trump's net approval rating on China. In term number 1, he was at plus 9 points. Hey, that's pretty gosh darn good, right? On the positive side of the ledger. They liked the way Trump was dealing with China. But down he goes into the Red Sea, now at minus 15 points. That's a drop of nearly 25 points from where he was in term number 1 to now. Americans like the way that Trump was dealing with China in term number 1. That is no longer the case.
Which groups might be fueling this?
What groups might be fueling this? Okay, 2 groups might be fueling this. How about independents? In term number 1, Trump was at plus 9 points on China in terms of his net approval rating. Look at where he is now. This is the story of Trump's second term. Things that were strong for him, like the economy in term number 1, have become major weaknesses, especially among independents. Now we're talking about minus 42 points among independents. That is a switcheroo of over 50 points in the wrong direction. Again, into the deep Red Sea. How about non-college whites? In Trump term number 1, it was...
Holy shit!
was plus 34 points.
Oh my God, he's fucking
again,
cooked.
Now we're talking about a negative.
Shit, he's fucking cooked. Oh my God. Non-college white net disapproval. He is charbroiled. Basically, every single person who's not an evangelical Christian from the South hates this guy's fucking ass. Everybody who's normal hates his fucking ass. I'd be willing to lay money that this is actually worse. Like if you go to non-college in, say, Pennsylvania, didn't we have that Civ Q, Civics, Trump? Yeah, this is the one that I wanted. Like, I wonder what non-college graduate, white. Oh my Lord in heaven. Okay, let's go and search for a state. This is old. We have nothing new. Okay, so that's actually not old. Search for a state. Let's try Pennsylvania. Okay, well, does it? Oh, that says 50 to 64. Sorry. I was wondering why it was so bad. Okay. I was like, that was Gen X. Gen X loves Trump. So in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump has plus 10 with non-college graduate whites, which is pretty bad. That's pretty fucking bad. Error. Why are you erroring? The fuck happened? The fuck? Okay. White people disapprove of Donald Trump. Oh my God. I wish there was like, I wish there was an evangelical. I wish there was like an evangelical versus non-evangelical, because that's a division that I've been trying to explain to people for a long time. But basically, like, oh, this map view is very cool. See how you could tell, like, where white people are evangelical Christians, they approve of Trump. And where they're not, especially in like the Northeast, the West, the Midwest, he's underwater. He's underwater with white people in Wisconsin by 10. He is fucking cooked. He's underwater with white people in Michigan by 8. Oh my God. He's only +1 with white people in Ohio. He's underwater by 7 with Iowa. I'm kind of surprised at North Carolina, but it doesn't shock me because, again, white Southerners are very racist. Will you do a reaction pod on some evangelical freak? Of course we will. Do you mind doing a little promo for Larkin on Maple stream tonight? Why are they up so late? 10 p.m.? Jesus. I'm going to continue to try to primary Jared Moskowitz. Yeah, I saw that. Boy. All right, chat. It's time for us to
It happened yet again, bro. It happened yet again. Zoran literally cannot stop winning. It's been nothing but dub after dub after dub. It's kind of wild to see. But you know what? It's important because it gives people hope that, wait a second, if you just have the will and the intelligence to fix problems, you can actually do it. Because we're so used to having only right-wingers in power or centrists in power. And so people have started to wrongly believe, oh, even if you want to do good things, you can't really do good things. Like, it's just not possible. No, it turns out it is. Again, all you need is the will and the intelligence. And with Zoran, we have the will and the intelligence. And the end result is phenomenal. So he just released this video. Listen to this.
New York, it's executive budget season. And I'm proud to announce that our city's budget is fully balanced. This budget isn't just about numbers on a page. It determines if our libraries get funded, if a street is safe to cross, if snow is actually shoveled after a storm. And you deserve to know exactly how we got here. We inherited a $12 billion budget deficit. We are speaking about a fiscal crisis at the scale greater than the Great Recession. What was the Great Recession? Great Recession. Many said the only way out of this was slashing services and passing an austerity budget. We rejected that. After months of painstaking work, that deficit is now zero. Our city is now on firm financial ground. We achieved this in two major ways: increasing revenue and support from Albany, and cutting waste and finding savings here in New York City. Thanks to Governor Hochul, State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and months of organizing from New Yorkers, we taxed the rich. That tax alone will raise $500 million per year. And that's not all. Thanks to Governor Hochul and our partners in Albany, we finally got a better deal for New York City. We're getting billions more from the state to help tackle the gap. At the same time, we've been poring over the city budget to identify savings. We reduced unnecessary overtime and found smarter ways for government to deliver services. This all added up to $1.77 billion in total savings. Our budget isn't just about closing deficits. It's about building a city New Yorkers can actually afford. On day 8 of our administration, we announced a historic partnership with Governor Hochul to finally deliver universal childcare. That's $1.2 billion in new funding from Albany. And this was just the beginning. Investments in citywide trash containerization, cheaper groceries, safer streets, relief for taxi drivers are all on the way. And we're increasing funding for libraries, parks, and cultural institutions. I promise to make sure you were part of this budget process every step of the way. This is your city. These are your tax dollars. And this budget should reflect your priorities. We're proud to put forward a budget for the working people of this city. And we're going to do it again next year, and next year, and next year.
Damn. So as Bernie Sanders says, congratulations to Mayor Mamdani. He inherited a huge budget deficit, brought it down to zero, and still invested in childcare, housing, and city infrastructure. When municipal governments stand with working families, not billionaires, there is nothing they cannot accomplish. So more on this. Ryan Rosbiani says, this man is a legend. Zoran Mamdani just closed New York City's $12 billion budget deficit without touching working New Yorkers. So $8 billion in new state aid from Albany. $2 billion. And by the way, let me just pause to point out, everybody should be sending their apology forms to Zoran for ever doubting him, because what he's proven is he was very tactical and very intelligent when he decided, I gotta please Hochul, so I gotta make some concessions here. And the fact that he pleased Hochul made it so that now he's getting a lot of shit he otherwise wouldn't have gotten, right? He knew how to play ball at the right time with the right people, do the right horse trading, and boom, now he gets $8 billion in new state aid from Albany, okay? $2 billion from pension restructuring, not benefit cuts. $1.77 billion in operational savings, so overtime, contracts, leases, dead programs. $1 billion from delaying the class size mandate. So the trade-off is that the classrooms in the schools will still be a little bigger, and he wanted to reduce them, but at this moment, he's going to keep them a little bigger because that's the only way he can, which he's mandated by law to take care of the budget here. That's the only way he was able to pull that off. Okay. Then $568 million from taxing the wealthy, no property tax hike, no rainy day fund, no service cuts. So this is a massive, massive victory, y'all. And the thing that's amazing to me is the left has always been tarred as like, you know, the impractical people and the inefficient people, and like, oh, that ideology, it just doesn't work, or you can't make the numbers work, or, you know, they don't care about the real nuts and bolts of governing and the math behind it all. Well, what he's proven here is that it's literally the exact opposite. When you go to the left, you have people, yes, who are actual ideologues in the sense that they want policies that help working people and do the right thing. But also, they happen to be the nerds who are the, you know, the number crunchers too. They happen to be the ones who actually are efficient and are intelligent and make the right decisions, make the right choices. And so there's just such a great example of it here. So now, as we look at everything Zoran has done, he cracked down on shitty landlords basically immediately. He ordered a deep cleaning of the subway for the first time in history, which was pretty fucking badass when you talk about New York City. He handled the winter storm that they got there so phenomenally well that even Republicans were giving him credit. He got Hochul on board for universal childcare, which is one of his key campaign promises. So that's in the works right now. He was able to pack the board to freeze the rent, which was another big campaign promise, okay? He taxed the rich, another big campaign promise. And it's just win after win after win after win. So just truly, truly amazing stuff. And this man has earned our support in the sense that even when he does something that looks like I don't agree with that. That looks a little off. Understand, he knows more than we do in this moment. Like, he's privy to information behind the scenes that we don't have. So if he's doing something that seems off, give him some time, give him some space. You'll find out there's a good-ass reason he did it. And then you'll see another massive victory, because that's all this guy's capable of doing, is winning. And the craziest part and the saddest part of all this is he wasn't born in the U.S., so he can't be president, which the Republicans should be thanking their lucky stars, because you get the Senate.
He can be the Senate Majority Leader. You know, like, that's a great position for him anyway. You know, like, let's not, you know what I mean? Like, okay, he can't be president. So fucking what? Have him in office designing all the programs for 1,000 years social democratic DSA transition to socialism. You know, like, who gives a fuck?
That if this guy ran, whoo, buddy, it'd be like 400 electoral college votes. It would be a massive landslide from coast to coast, because he knows how to campaign, he knows how to govern. He's been one of the most successful and impressive politicians I've ever seen so far since getting into office. Usually even decent politicians might let you down a little bit at one point or another. This guy has just been wall-to-wall victories. So, what a leader, man. What a leader. Very impressive. And it gives people hope that, you know, good governance is possible. Fixing problems is possible. Doing the right thing is possible. Imagine just electing people who are not corrupted, who actually give a shit, and who are actually intelligent. That's where we are now. And, you know, it's kind of crazy when you look at the current situation. The rest of this country, you know, we're living in the hellscape that Donald Trump has created, and we're like furious about it. Then you have this one little fucking utopia in New York City that's actually improving shit, and everybody else is outside looking in going, man, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of what they got going on over there. And I think everybody is.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
Wow. We just keep winning, chat. We just keep winning. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you so much for all the support, the treasure train, the support for Claire. I want to do more shit, and you guys' support has made that possible. We've helped a lot of really great people running for office this year, and I can't wait till we have, you know, Claire's victory and Francesca Hong's victory as feathers in our cap. We just keep promoting powerful women. Yes. So I'm going to call it there, chat. Don't forget, we've got brand new episode of the Reaction Podcast. Make sure you join, subscribe. We're going to continue to pump out more information. We're discussing having Brace on and Attouché Films. Attouché Films. I think that's how you say it. The guy who makes the Checkmate Lincolnites. So we've got a bunch more amazing guests possibly percolating. I'm not promising anything. And if you have any like content creators or commentators that you think would be good guests, especially if they have a chud enemy, let me know. You're about half the loudness of your video audio. What the fuck's going? I don't know. I might need to get a new audio setup. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm sending y'all over to VO. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, over to the VO stream. Thank you so much for all the support. You guys are the best. Solidarity forever, my friends. Socialism is winning. We are winning. Our influence is growing. Hasanabe Industrial Complex is growing. Caroline is growing. VO is growing. Everything is coming in our direction. The stuff that we said 7 years ago when we started this stream is all coming to pass. So keep the course, stay the course, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Solidarity forever, my friends. Free Palestine. See you tomorrow. Peace. Everything computer.